Sun Talk, the home of free speech.
Well, a very good morning to you wherever you're listening, and thank you very much indeed for logging on or tuning in to Sun Talk with myself, Tommy Boyd, standing in for Jon Gaunt. He's away this week and next, and as ever, loads to talk about this morning. For example, we're going to be talking about whether motoring crime is crime and whether people who commit crime on the road using their car, their vehicle, whatever, are punished properly. We've got a case of someone who was convicted of killing a mum, a young mum on the road and received just 3 years. We're also talking about the possibility that the recession that we're all enjoying at the moment might trigger a tidal wave of crime in the UK. We're talking about the link between the economic situation and crime in the United Kingdom, set to trigger a spate of booze addiction, of drug addiction, of burglary, of shoplifting. Reminder that you can always give us a call. I'll do our numbers in just a second, or you can email wherever you're listening, whether it's live at the sun.co.uk in the UK or around the world. If you're podcasting the show, then your views are still very valid, so details on how you can do that a little bit later on. If you're listening on traditional radio in Spain, good morning, buenos dias to you. Again, your views always welcome on Bay Radio and Spectrum FM. You can email or call, or you can text the show. It's a good morning for sport this morning. If you remember a wonderful young old footballer now, called Ossie Ardiles. He's published his autobiography and he's going to be here. And if there's a point you want to make, if there's a question you'd like to ask, or if you just want to say to Ossie Ardiles, thanks for all those wonderful memories, then get emailing now. You can call. Ossie's going to be with us, we're hoping, around about 11:30 this morning. That's 12:30 if you're listening in Spain. And immediately before that, we are joined by royalty. Richard Keys and Andy Gray, no less, are going to be in. That'll be fun. We're going to be finding out about, of course, their views on the coming season, and also what new treasures Sky's football coverage has in store for us. We're hoping to talk to a young lady who has a terrible but at the same time heartwarming story, because she's been to hell and back to tell, and this is a young lady whose life was almost ruined as a result of a drug which I must confess I don't know much about myself, which is called crystal meth. We're going to be finding out just how dangerous, how evil this drug is by listening to her story. That's going to be happening around about 11 o'clock. And crisis in the UK car industry. Now, where have you heard that one before? Two big stories breaking this morning on that. So we're going to be talking about the UK car manufacturing industry. What's left of it? There was one once. There were several once. We used to make cars in this country. Now we only make novelty cars, it seems to me. Like the dear old Morgan, for example. You can give me a call on any of these topics. Our email address is gaunty@suntalk.co.uk, or you can call 020 33 64 7000 is the number. And we took some great calls from our Spanish listeners yesterday. And so once again, buenos dias, and you're always more than welcome with your wisdom from the sunshine on Bay Radio and Spectrum FM this morning. We're hoping to be finding out a little bit about a new film which has been made by Quentin Tarantino. Now, what do you think of this fella? You've probably seen Pulp Fiction. You've probably seen Reservoir Dogs. You might have seen, was it Jackie Brown he made as a follow-up to that, which all the critics said was a fantastic movie. And then he made the Kill Bill. I think it was a trilogy. You've probably seen those as well, with all the kung fu stuff, the late David Carradine and the samurai sword fighting. That didn't get the same kind of praise from the critics as Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. But his latest film is called Inglourious I don't know how to say it, really. It's got an E in it where there isn't always an E, but so I guess I can just go ahead and say Inglourious Bastards or Bastards. I need some guidance on this one from somebody who knows Sun Talk even better than I do. What do I say, Sam? Is it Inglourious Bastards or Bastards? It's the name of the film. He's thinking about it. He says he doesn't care. Either will do. So we've got a sneak preview on that. And let's talk about films as well. Let me ask you this question, listening at home, wherever you are this morning, perhaps on your PC or your laptop, or maybe on your mobile phone, or possibly on your Wi-Fi radio, or on your traditional radio across Spain on Bay Radio and Spectrum FM. What's your all-time favourite movie? What's the greatest movie ever made? What's the one movie, if you had to be, you know, banged up, or if you were cast away on a desert island, you know, that one, for the rest of your life, without any company, just one TV screen, one DVD player, and one DVD. What movie would that be? I'm just racking my brains myself. I think I'd take a comedy. You'd need it, wouldn't you? But then again, is there anything that makes you laugh over and over again? I like the Monty Python stuff, so I'm a bit of a fan of The Meaning of Life. That will be on my list. But then again, I also like some John Wayne movies. Which John Wayne movie would it be? I'd take The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, or maybe True Grit. How about yourself? Gaunty@suntalk.co.uk is the email address. You can text me. It's 87131, and your text will cost 50 pence plus the network rate. Or you can call. You can call and either go to air, or you can leave your message with Phil. 020 33 64 7000 is the number there. And as we look towards a new football season starting up, there will be quite a bit of football on this morning, although it's not just about football. Ossie Ardiles is a charming, amazing little fellow whose life was overshadowed and whose career was overshadowed enormously by, you'll remember that he is an Argentinian, you'll remember that his career was enormously overshadowed by the Falklands War. And you might care to think about talking to Ossie yourself, or emailing Ossie yourself, for his thoughts now on what he still refers to as the Malvinas. Of course, in the United Kingdom, as far as we're concerned, it is the Falklands, and it was the Falklands War. But there's more to talk about than just football with Ossie, because he's a smashing little character. I'm really looking forward to meeting him, having read his excellent autobiography, Ossie's Dream, and we will be talking about the luck of the draw, the joy of doing the one thing that you've dreamed of doing all your life for your living, but how fate takes a hand in no matter what you do, no matter who you are. So that's around about 11:30. Reminder once again, you can call 02033 64 7000, and that email address. The one film you take to a desert island, your all-time favourite film, the greatest film ever made, Gaunty@suntalk.co.uk.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Log on now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
Hi, Shami.
Good morning.
So I described you as Britain's most dangerous woman.
You did.
What did you think of that?
I thought that Britain must have got a lot safer, is what I thought. No, let's face it, it tickled me no end, and it got the debate out there, John, which is what we're all about. And thanks a lot for having a scruffy campaigner, a protester like me, on Sun Talk in its first week. The numbers of letters and emails I get about things like threesomes and swinging and swapping, it is just endless. I mean, I would think not a day goes by that I don't hear from someone with a problem connected with that. I also get a few writing into me, telling me that I am being boring and old-fashioned for not condoning it and saying that's really good.
Yeah.
Plus, you can download our daily podcasts.
Do you know what? I think Peter Andre, though, he's going to fade into obscurity a little bit. I think he wants to kind of go that way.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think he might choose to if this album fails.
I think you need the if at the beginning of that sentence. Surely you needed the word when.
He's going to be big in Japan, I reckon.
Everybody is big in Japan. That's the problem.
Well, you're big everywhere.
And watch our exclusive vodcasts.
I've been utterly consistent in the last 3.5 years. Whether I'm 10 points ahead in the polls or 10 points behind in the polls, I've always said, bring it on, let's have the election. I want to give people in this country the chance to vote for change, so I'm absolutely ready for it.
Are you ready for some more calls, Prime Minister?
Always ready, but none of that complacency.
It's Tommy Boyd looking after Sun Talk whilst Jon Gaunt is on his holiday.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
And we'll be crossing to Amsterdam a little later in the programme this morning to find out the very latest about England's friendly international against Holland. We were hoping to be talking to Ian Wright this morning, but he can't make it on the show. But I know that Ian is nailed on as saying that this friendly against Holland is a complete waste of time. What do you say about that? I have to go selfish on this one and say that because I like football, whatever it is, whenever it's on, and an England international is an England international, even if it is only a friendly, after all, it is Holland. And I'm just grateful that it's going to be something I'm going to be able to watch on television tonight. So I say bring it on. But Ian's point is that just 72 hours before the curtain goes up on another fantastic Premier League season, and let's face it, the Premier League is the greatest football league, the greatest sport football has ever seen. It's that important. It is that important. And just 72 hours before the curtain goes up on it, who decided at the FA that that would be a good time, 2.5 days before the first games in the Premiership? Who on earth decided that that would be a really good time to have a friendly against Holland and take, what is it, 22 of the best players? Most of them are in the Premiership, aren't they? And take them across to Hollywood, away from their club, away from the training regimes, away from the last-minute preparation for that all-important first game of the season, and have a jolly over in Amsterdam. What do you say? Gaunty at suntalk.co.uk, or you can call 020 33 64 7000. Now, there are reports, and the reports come from the highly regarded Audit Commission, saying that this recession is likely to trigger a tidal wave of crime. First of all, who are the Audit Commission exactly? Let's get the lowdown on all of this by saying good morning to Graham Wilson, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. Hello, Graham.
Hi, Gaunty. How are you?
I'm pretty good. The Audit Commission, just remind us all who they are for a start.
Yeah, as you say, highly regarded. They're one of these independent watchdogs that look after how our money is spent. They basically keep an eye on how councils across the country, town halls, and also the health service is spending our hard-earned cash. So they're basically accountants, bean counters, normally very sort of dull and boring. They've produced a bit of a barnstormer today, as you said, on the recession and the impact it's going to have.
And they've said what?
They're basically saying Britain is currently going through what they say is the first wave of the recession. That's basically when the economy shrinks, the jobless total rockets, but we're about to go into the second wave. Now, this is when basically the impact takes effect on families and on communities across the country. They're predicting there'll be huge increases in domestic violence, burglary, theft, alcoholism, drug addiction, all sorts of terrible things will be happening over the next 2 to 3 years, all directly linked to the recession. And then they said there will be a third wave after that when the country as a whole starts to recover, but there will be black spots dotted around the country which remain locked in recession.
Now, you've explained yourself perfectly well, as always, but I'm confused about this. I thought it was the sociologist's job to try and find a link between deprivation and crime.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what they're doing in the Audit Commission is looking back at the last 2 recessions we've been through, and they say that, you know, you can trace it quite clearly that there's a sort of the economic impact in the first wave. That's when we slump into the red, the economy shrinks. But they say there's very clear evidence that after that, the impact of unemployment starts to take its toll, and people are under stress, people turn to booze, they say, people turn to drugs, and also burglary and theft, which has been declining during the boom times, that starts to go up again. People basically need cash, need money, and those are the sort of crimes that go up. This is what they're saying. Whether we agree with it or not, remains to be seen, but it's a fairly stark report, as I say, from a normally fairly conservative, straight-laced organisation.
Yeah, so do people listen to the Audit Commission? Is anything likely to be done as a result of this, do you think?
Well, what they're saying is that basically the councils, the town halls in particular, need to be girding their loins, getting prepared for this. They said there's going to be huge demand for their services and they need to be ready. They say quite a lot of councils have been a bit complacent, sitting on their hands, not getting ready for the sort of demands for, in particular, one issue they raise is lots of rich people who currently send their kids to private schools, or people who work hard and use their money to send their kids to private school. A lot of them, maybe because wages have been cut, maybe because mum or dad has lost a job, they're now leaving the private schools and going to local state secondary or this local state primary, and that's putting a huge pressure on school places. Suddenly there's been a big influx of people looking for school places. A lot of councils just aren't prepared for that, and that's going to lead to a lot of pain and a lot of anguish for families up and down the country.
Do you think then this is, bad news for Gordon Brown, or is it in fact tipping number 10 the wink that there's something here that could be done that might win them just a few more votes?
Well, I think it's bad news for Gordon Brown. I mean, I think Gordon Brown's always hoped that the economy would start to improve, the figures would improve, the economy would start to grow again, even if just by a little bit, and that would be enough to persuade voters, let's give them another chance. This is saying the economy may start to improve, but you've got this 2 or 3 year second wave of the recession when, in terms of, for you and me and for millions of Sun readers, the real effect of the recession takes place. That's when, jobs will still be getting lost, people will still be feeling pressure, you might have your house burgled, you might be robbed in the street. So in terms of the actual real impact on people's day-to-day lives, that's going to continue, and that's really bad news for Gordon Brown and his hopes of being re-elected.
So another nail in his coffin. So yet more plotting against Gordon underneath the backstairs of the bunker. Is it still going on?
It kind of is. I mean, Harriet Harman, a week or so ago, she was causing all sorts of angst in number 10. She was meant to be sort of nominally in charge of the country, but she came in with great gusto and started throwing her weight about a bit. She's clearly still hopeful that she can win an election, leadership election, if Gordon Brown loses the election and he has to stand down. Overall, though, the plotting has kind of died away. There's a kind of a resigned inevitability now among many Labour MPs. Many of them feel we're beaten, we've lost the next election. They can't really see anyone to replace Gordon Brown. The guy who maybe could be Alan Johnson doesn't seem to have the stomach for it, doesn't seem to have the appetite. So there's a real sort of depressed resignation among many Labour MPs, and they're kind of enjoying, many of them, their last summer as an MP before next year's election.
On the subject of Gordon's successor, or would-be successor, one of his would-be successors, can you tell us anything more about the simmering feud between Peter Mandelson and George Osborne?
Oh, incredible stuff, great stuff. Peter Mandelson at the start of this week declaring he was coming back to, step in for Gordon Brown while he was on holiday, but he was going to be very quiet, keep his head down, not make any fuss. Within 24 hours, he's accusing George Osborne of political cross-dressing. Extraordinary attack, very bitchy, very vicious. Yeah, great stuff coming from Mandy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But of all people. But, this all dates back to last summer where you may remember there was this extraordinary revelations about how Mandelson and Osborne both enjoyed the lavish hospitality of the Russian oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, on his luxurious yacht. And that all came out. There was lots of bitching. Osborne was accused of leaking about Mandelson's briefing against Brown during some of these meetings. Mandelson hit back, all the details came out, and the two men have been sort of biting away at each other in the background. It's all burst out in the open this week. As I say, Mandelson accusing Osborne of political cross-dressing. Quite extraordinary.
Graham, thanks for your time this morning. Good talking to you.
Good stuff. Thanks, Conte.
Real people, real talk. Sun Talk, the home of free speech.
Reminder, you can call 020 33 64 7000. I'd be fascinated to hear your views on what we're talking about this morning, or what you think we should be talking about this morning. Let's go to Widnes, where we've got Adam on the line. Hi, Adam.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, John.
It's Tommy, but don't worry about it.
Hello, John.
Hi, Adam. What did you want to say this morning?
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Do you want to turn your PC off, Adam? I think you've got some
Hello, John?
delay. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. You wanted to talk about the Baby P case?
Yeah. Is this Jon Gaunt?
No, it's Tommy Boy. John's on holiday.
Who are you, sorry?
My name's Tom.
Tom?
Yeah.
He's on holiday. Right, what's your name?
My name's still Tom.
Tommy.
Yeah. It says on my screen here
Tommy.
that you wanted to
Tommy
talk...
Cooper.
Tommy Cooper, if you like. It says on my screen here, let's cut to the chase. It says on my screen here, Adam, that you wanted to talk about the sentences that were handed down to Baby P's parents.
Basically, the point I was trying to raise is more not about the actual sentences, which, in my opinion, are rather shocking anyway. It's more about the fact that these people could be let out of prison and get a new identity on taxpayers' money, which I just think is utterly wrong.
Okay, so if you've been the judge and you had... Who have you got there? Are you having a party or is it a building site? What's going on?
I'm on a train.
You're on a train, okay. If you'd been the judge and you could hand down whatever sentences you wanted, what would you have done, Adam, on a train somewhere near Widnes?
Just repeat that, please, Tommy.
Why don't you call back sometime when maybe you're on the landline? But thank you, Adam, very much indeed for calling 02033 64 7000. You can do better than that, can't you, listening? Or you can email me, gaunty@suntalk.co.uk. Your thoughts, if you're sending an email, it can be a paragraph or 3 paragraphs or a single line. If you want to call, you don't have to go to air. You can leave your thoughts with Phil, who's on the switchboard this morning. That number again is 02033 64 7000. Or you can try and have a chat with me. I'm sure you do better than Adam there. But thanks for calling anyway, Adam.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, the home of free speech.
Yeah, 2 big motoring stories this morning, so we rush straight to our motoring editor and expert, Ken Gibson. Morning.
Morning, Tommy. How are you?
Never been better, you?
Fairly reasonable, Tommy. Fairly reasonable. Very delighted for the Jaguar Land Rover workers.
Let's go to that one first. What's the story there?
Well, it's a pretty long-running saga. Way back in January, Jaguar Land Rover, Tommy, like every other car company, particularly the executive luxury car firms, have been badly hit by the global recession, which had hit sales. They then suffered the problem that they couldn't get loans from the bank in the normal way business was doing. So they appealed to government way back in December for assistance to take them over this. They then got an offer in January from the European Investment Bank of 340 million in grants for investment on new technology. But that required the government or a commercial bank to act as a guarantor. The government stepped in, and after 7 months of negotiations, they still hadn't reached a conclusion. Fortunately, in the in-between time, Jag and Land Rover have found that as the market started to pick up a little, they've actually been able to get commercial banks to now back them. So they've now got around about £800 million worth of loans and investment, so they can now reinvest back in the company.
Excellent. How many jobs saved?
14,500. You know, the only question is that it's good that in the end, because everyone was going on about Jaguar Land Rover's owners, Tata, the Indian company, going to the begging bowl to the government, which was very unfair on them. This company, since it took Jag Land Rover over, Tommy, invested £1 billion of their own money into it. And the only reason that they needed help was because they couldn't get the normal loans that every business runs on. And, you know, they were very badly stigmatized as saying, you know, a bit like the American market, you know, GM going cap in hand, where that was not the case. And I have to say that I haven't been totally impressed by the government's action in this. You know, for 7 months, they dragged this out until eventually Jaguar Land Rover resolved it themselves.
Mm. And as far as the sort of business side of this goes, you're saying that there's no element of charity about any of this financial arrangement. This is a hard-nosed business investment by people who think that they will make money at Jaguar Land Rover.
Absolutely. They have seen Jaguar and Land Rover's new products. I've been driving 2 of the new Land Rovers in the last couple of weeks, and they are outstanding machines. You know, so, you know, they're backing the Jaguar Land Rover products because, you know, the commercial banks are giving it for one reason and one reason only. They believe that it's a sound investment.
Now, second big motoring story this morning is not so rosy, is it?
No, but it makes Jaguar Land Rover seem a short saga. MG Rover, it's hard to think that really it was 6 years ago now that it actually went bust. And 6,000 jobs went down the pan. Now, the great thing here is the government then did what governments are very good at. They set up a large inquiry to see how, whether there'd been any, mistakes made. Clearly, to me, I can never understand these, Tommy, because obviously mistakes had been made because the company went bust. But it took an amazing 4.5 years for this inquiry to come to fruition, and it cost a staggering £16 million.
16
million. And then at the end of it, though, when they finally got this report back, Lord Mandelson then said, right, well, we need to just double-check whether or not this has been any criminal work done here. So he put it out to the Special Crime Department to see if there was any grounds for criminal charges. After 4 weeks of inquiry, they've decided no. The amazing thing that gets me is, which came as no surprise to me, clearly if there'd been criminal wrongdoing, something would have happened sometime a lot earlier than now. Mm. And the second thing is there that, the one criminal thing that has been is to take 4 years to do an inquiry, and finally come to a conclusion. And they're going to announce the conclusion in about a month's time. I'll guarantee you, Tommy, that conclusion will say, surprise, surprise, mistakes were made by MG Rover bosses. And if we're really lucky, it might just say mistakes were also made by the government in not assisting earlier enough in this situation. But at the end of it all, it doesn't make a damn to any of the 6,000 workers who've lost their jobs. No. Their jobs have gone. They're now in new jobs, different jobs, or they're retired.
So how do you read it, Ken? What was the motive for this inquiry then? If the outcome were, you could have been predicted and written on the back of an envelope in 10 minutes.
Well, it was a great claim that the 4 guys that were known as the Phoenix Four, the 4 businessmen who actually bought the company for £5 off BMW, that they had in fact feathered their own nest, to put it in to bluntly. And that they'd gone away with about 40 million between them in pensions and other things. And that, the question was, had there been any illegality in this? The answer to this appears to be no. Now, there are 2 things out of this that people seem to forget. One, BMW could not make a success of MG Rover, the might of BMW. What BMW very cleverly did when they realized they couldn't, they got out of it and took the Mini with them, which has been their one big success story, and also they took all of the information and knowledge they needed from Land Rover to build their own range of 4x4s, like the X5 and the X3. So people forget that when they have a go at the British businessmen, who may not be, the most perfect people in the world, but those 4 businessmen at the time were the only people willing to have a go at this. And they had to raise their own funds, invest their own money into it. And for about 2 or 3 years, they made a success of it. People also forget that. They rebranded MG, brought MG back with balloons. And for a while they did well. In the end they made the mistake of not having a long-term partner who could invest the big sums of money they needed to do a new range of cars. So, my view is that, it's easy shouting at the end of all of this. But the reality is that inquiry, if it had to be done, should have been done within a year. If those productivity levels have taken 4 years were done in normal business, you'd get sacked. The inquiry team would have been sacked.
Brilliant stuff. Ken, thank you very much indeed this morning. Ken Gibson, our motoring editor. Just quickly, what are you driving these days?
I'm currently in a C30 Volvo e-drive, so I'm very economical today. I'm doing about 55 to the gallon and very green.
Very green. Good talking to you, Ken. Thank you for your time.
Ta-ra, Tommy.
Cheers. as Ken Gibson, the Sun's motoring editor. Will we ever have a motor manufacturing industry in the United Kingdom again? Did we ever have one? Well, did we ever have a motoring industry that was as important to us as all the Citroens and the Fiats are to the French, and the Mercedes and the Volkswagens are to the Germans, and the Swedes have got their car companies, and the Italians, of course, make cars top of the range right the way through to, you know, family models. We kind of once were more or less up there with them. What happened to our motoring industry? We've managed to hold on, haven't we, to most of our industries in some way, shape or form, but it just seems to be the motoring industry that has gone completely down the pan. Now, there are people, and you may be one of them, who will say that the one reason for that, the one word that can be used to explain exactly and utterly and completely why we don't have a motoring industry that bears comparison with the French and the Germans and the Italians and most of the rest of the world in 2009 are the unions. Gaunty at suntalk.co.uk is the email address. You can call 020 33 64 7000. It confused Adam enormously this morning. My name is Tommy Boyd. I'm flattered to discover that I sound a little bit like Jon Gaunt. What a compliment. What a fantastic compliment. But John will be back with us in about 10 days' time. He's taken a 2-week break, and it's myself looking after Sun Talk between 10 and 1 in the United Kingdom, live on your PC or your laptop or however you listen. And, of course, those hours are 11 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you're listening on traditional radio in Spain. Buenos dias and good morning to you on Bay Radio and Spectrum FM. One of the things we're having fun with this morning, since we're going to be talking about films and the new Quentin Tarantino movie a bit later on, is what's your all-time favourite film, the one that you take to a desert island if you're only allowed one, the one that perhaps has been the biggest influence on your life, or the one that gives you entertainment still even though you've seen it 5, 10, 20 times? And I've got this from Jack, who's listening in Exmoor. Morning, Jack. Thanks for your email. He says, good morning, everybody. Everybody says good morning back. He says, the film that changed my life and is the most memorable is Cockleshell Heroes. Made back in 1956, a Royal Command film performance about the origins of the SBS within the Royal Marines. My life changed then. I'm now in my mid-60s. And if ever I feel down, this is what we're talking about, he says, if ever I feel down, I play it on DVD and get remotivated. Thanks for that, Jack. How about yourself? The movie that lifts you, again and again. Gaunty at suntalk.co.uk is the email address. You can call 020 33 64 7000.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Hi, it's Gaunty here. As you know, Dulux have got together with the Sun to rally our communities to pick up a paintbrush. With small differences, you can make a big difference. Why don't you check out the community projects nominated by you, the Sun readers, and cast your vote for the most worthy cause. Now, Dulux have been so impressed with the response from our listeners and readers that they've now decided to give 2 more lucky projects a complete and utter makeover. There are 11 projects to vote for live on www.thesun.co.uk/Dulux. Get voting now. This could be your last chance to make a difference to your community. Vote now at www.thesun.co.uk/Dulux. And don't forget, you're going to be entered into a prize draw where you could win a cool £1,000 just for voting. Voting does end, though, on the 4th of September at midnight. So far, the Paint for Change bus and the Power Painters have visited Stoke Mandeville Hospital Radio. They even had a visit from Sir Jimmy Savile. They went to Oakdale Comprehensive School in Wales, Pitsea Leisure Centre and Bridgeon Scout Hut in Kent. The results were brilliant, and they are changing these spaces for the better for those who use them. Why don't you go to www.thesun.co.uk/Dulux to read the full story. Now, the bus is going to be on the road again soon to make over our most recent winners. So look out for the bus, and once we have our winners, why don't you drop by the makeovers in your area? You can pick up some useful hints and tips from the Dulux experts. or even just have your photo taken with the Dulux dog. You can even roll up your sleeves and get involved. It's going to be a fun day for the whole family, with a competition and goodies on the bus. Dulux want to help you make a big difference with small changes, not just in your community, but also for you at home. Go to thesun.co.uk/Dulux to check out those top Dulux hints, tips and videos.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Ossie Ardiles will be in later. He's talking about his new autobiography, which is just out, and Mark has emailed. Could you please pass this message on to Ossie if possible? Ossie will be here at 11:30, but Mark wants me to say to him, delighted you've written a book, will be buying it as soon as I can. Can you get your boots back on as well, as Spurs are sadly lacking such a niggly little midfield maestro like you? I watched you on the terrace at Spurs in the latest 70s, early 80s. I'll finish your email out to Ossie Mark when he gets here. If you would like to email the great man a question or a point, or just say, Ossie, you're sadly missed, gaunty@suntalk.co.uk. Now, the curtain goes up on another fantastic season in the Premier League in 72 hours, something like that. It's the greatest football league the greatest sport has ever known, and so naturally what they need 72 hours before the curtain goes up on the Premier League is a friendly in Holland. Sean Custis is the chief football writer in Amsterdam. Whose idea?
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Whose idea was this, Sean? Or maybe you think it's a great idea?
You can't criticise the FA for it, Tommy. It's FIFA's. It's an international date which is put in the calendar by FIFA. There are matches going on all over the world tonight, including things like Mexico versus the USA, which is a World Cup qualifier. In Mexico, 100,000 people there. You know, there are big games going on everywhere. This just happens to be one of them.
What do the players think about it? Any idea from what
they
they've
say
said?
publicly. They all say publicly that it's very important. Build up to the World Cup. This is a match where we can learn things and all of that. I mean, privately, I don't know whether all of them will be going gung-ho and thinking this is life and death sort of game. I'm sure they won't be. But the problem is for them with Capello, you have to be sort of on the mark all the time. I mean, that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but he wants them to be fully concentrated on England when he's with them, and if they're not, then he won't pick them.
He runs a tight ship, but what do you think? I mean, is it any good? Personally, I'll tell you what I think. I'm glad there's a football game on tonight, so I'm happy.
Oh, great. But yes, me too, and we'll be devoting acres of coverage to it in the Sun, as we should do, because it's an England game. Personally, I wouldn't have international friendlies at this time of year, because I don't think they serve a lot of purpose.
Exactly.
But it's on, so we'll get on with it.
And John Terry, you've got him across the back pages today. John Terry has come out and said almost what Alf Ramsey said. If you go back to 1966, he's almost said England will win the World Cup.
Well, he's saying, don't rule us out of winning it if we keep playing like we are. Now, previously, all last season, the mantra from the players, Capello and everybody was, it's too early to get excited. We didn't qualify for the Euros. Take each game as it comes. Yeah. Got to be steady, foot on the ball, not make any bold predictions. But you reach a point, of course, where people keep going, come on, John, 7 qualifying wins out of 7. We must have a chance and all that. And then, of course, he goes, well, yeah, of course, we have. We believe we have. And these players, these are highly paid players in this England football team, many of whom have played at the highest level of the game. So they should believe they can win the World Cup, frankly. They really should. Yes, we've been through lots of disappointments in the past, but you look around the world and you think these players are some of the leading players. They are. So therefore, why can't we win the World Cup?
Okay, well, we didn't with Sven, with a team that some people would say seemed even more likely to have a good World Cup than
it hasn't changed a lot. To be honest,
it's a different manager. Just a different manager. So you're saying that Capello's tight ship could just be the clincher?
There's talk about, does Capello give you just that extra 5%, which might make the difference between getting through quarter-final? And let's remember, we've lost many times in penalty shootouts. Could it just be somehow he can give that just extra bit which pushes England over the line?
And in saying this, of course, John Terry takes some of the attention away from the hoo-ha about will he, won't he, Manchester City.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to put that one behind him now, and the way he talked about it yesterday, you'd think he'd never even considered going to Manchester City, which of course is a load of nonsense. Of course he did. He knew what was going on and all that, but he's trying desperately now to put it all behind him and say, I was only ever interested in staying for Chelsea, never tempted by City. I mean, I think that's nonsense. I think he's saying what he thinks he has to say now, but I think he was very, very tempted by Man City, not least because of the money on the table. I mean, it was huge. Anybody would be tempted by that. But he's sticking with Chelsea now, and he's trying to nail it. I mean, he said to us yesterday, I'm surprised people are still talking about this. Well, actually, it was the first time he'd ever publicly talked about it. He made a statement on the Chelsea website, but he'd never talked about it publicly before. Now he has. Maybe that's the end of it from him talking about it, but I think it'll be a discussion point throughout the season. I really do. Whether he should have gone, whether City will try from him again in January transfer window, whether Chelsea change their stance about it. I still think it could be up in the air.
Okay, well, we'll keep watching that one. But back to tonight, any news on the team?
Well, Capello clearly had concerns about Emil Heskey yesterday, suggesting his Achilles, which is a common problem for Heskey, Achilles tendon injury might not heal. He did train and did come through, but there's still a chance that Carlton Cole might play instead of him. Martin O'Neill at Aston Villa would not be best pleased if he plays an injured player in a pre-season friendly. Capello's not too bothered about upsetting the managers, but at the same time he doesn't want an unnecessary war, so it may be that Heskey ends up on the bench. And Theo Walcott didn't train at all, so with a side strain, he's highly unlikely to play, and I would expect David Beckham to play instead of him.
Okay. All right, well, fingers crossed it's a good game and plenty of goals, and nobody picks up a knock.
Let's hope so. Cheers.
Cheers. Sean Custis, chief football writer for The Sun in Amsterdam, ahead of tonight's friendly.
Real people, real talk. Sun Talk, the home of free speech.
Good morning, it's Sun Talk. Buenos dias if you're listening in Spain. It's Sun Talk if you're listening in the United Kingdom, around the world on the internet at thesun.co.uk or on Bay Radio and Spectrum FM in Spain. This morning on Sun Talk, and it's Tommy Boyd, by the way. Caller rang in earlier and was flattered me enormously by thinking that I was Jon Gaunt. John's on a couple of weeks' holiday, thoroughly well earned, you ask him. But my name is Tommy Boyd, and you I might go, that name rings a bell. You may well have seen me, as the guy says in Simpsons, on a whole bunch of television when you were younger. More recently, the last 10 or 15 years ago, I've been doing this kind of radio, but on the radio, on Talk Radio, and then there was a thing called Talk Sport. What's that? And various BBC stations as well. I think Talk Radio's got a terrific future, and that's why I'm sticking with it. And the reason I enjoy it enormously is because we get to talk about the things that happen and the things that matter. But because it's phone-in and because it's accessible, it means that we talk about these things the way people talk about them. So here we are this morning talking about the state of the British car industry, talking about the state of the economy and whether that is likely to trigger a crime wave in this country. We're talking about football. Ossie Ardiles will be along later. We're talking about football. We've got Sky's Richard Keys and Andy Gray in later. So if you have any thoughts about football or the way football is covered, of course, which is another aspect of the beautiful game, then you are completely free, and it is free, to obviously put your point, ask your question, make your comment. You can either call our switchboard, I'll remind you of the landline number in just a second, or you can email us, and loads of people are, and thank you for your emails, and I will get to them, especially the rude ones, in about 5 or 10 minutes. Gaunty at suntalk.co.uk. That's Gaunty as in Gaunty, as in Jon Gaunt. Everyone knows him as Gaunty, and the email address is gaunty at suntalk.co.uk. And the landline number 020 33 64 7000 is the number there. What else are we talking about this morning? Oh yeah, one quick thing. It's a fun thing, but it's a nice one to run around inside your own mind. The greatest movie ever made as far as you're concerned. The film that you could watch not just once, you've watched it 3 times, 5 times, you're going to watch it again sometime. because one day it's raining and there's nothing else to do, or because, as Jack, who emailed us a little bit earlier, said whenever he's down he watches Cockleshell Heroes. And quite a few emails have come in on that, and we will get to all of them. But what about you? What's the one movie, the one DVD that you would take if you were going to be cast away on a desert island, television set, DVD player, but just one DVD to watch again and again? It's got to be something to lift your spirits, but I would have thought your favourite film would be one that would lift your spirits anyway, or maybe not. Gaunty@suntalk.co.uk is the email address right there.
Real people, real talk. Sun Talk, the home of free speech.
There's a number of nice headlines, as always, in The Sun this morning, and I think Mike Sullivan, the Sun's crime editor, the 40 million raid is the highest, H-E-I-S-T, as in heist, ever. Is a nice one. Is it the biggest ever raid in the UK?
It's not the biggest raid, but it's the biggest raid on a single store.
Right.
So, I mean, you had the Tunbridge robbery was 53 million. It was back in 2006, and then going back to 87, the Knightsbridge safe deposit was estimated somewhere around about 40 to 50 million. But what you've got here is 43 pieces of jewellery worth a cool £40 million. Extraordinary stuff, really. And I don't know if that's inflation, whether it's stupidity of growth. In one display case, they had £40 million worth of diamonds.
What happened? What did these villains do?
They walked up to the shop. You've got to remember, this is appointment-only store, like many of the top jewellers in that vicinity. They're suited and booted. They get out of the cab, and then there's no other customers in the door open for them. Whether they've they've obviously lulled the security guards into thinking that they were VIPs, and stroll into the shop, pull out black, one of the black.
Got a problem with Mike's phone, as you can probably hear there, so what we'll try and do is get someone on the team to ring Mike back, because it's an interesting story. And I've got this week, because we've been talking about films this morning. We're going to be talking about the latest Quentin Tarantino film, which is called Inglourious Bastards. It's spelt differently, so I can say it. Forgive me if the language in any way offends, but that's what the film's called. And so it's got us thinking about great films. And your favourite film. What is your all-time favourite film? The film you could watch over and over again. And you know what's really interesting about films is that whenever there's a film, this is simply true, whenever there is a film in which a crime takes place, as long as it's not a heinous crime, as long as it doesn't involve bloodshed, if it's something like The Italian Job, or Ocean's 11, or the new one, whatever it is, Ocean's 13, have you noticed that every single one of us wants them to get away with it? We know it's a crime. We know it's going to cost the country. We know it's going to cost some people their jobs. But we want the villains to get away with it. Now, this leads me to ask whether we're all somehow romantically villains at heart. The Italian Job you probably thought, maybe, as having as one of your DVDs that you take to a desert island. Gaunty@suntalk.co.uk is the number there. Let's see whether we can get Mike back, who is... Hello, Mike.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
That's a lot better. You were in the middle of your story about... These villains obviously made an appointment then.
Well, they haven't made an appointment, no. I mean, they have. It should be by appointment only. But in this instance, they've worn smart suits, lulled the security guards into thinking they were presumably wealthy city types, strolled into the shop, the door is open for them. They both produce handguns, one's white, one's black. The white guy goes to a single display case, rips it open, grabs the swag, well, I say swag, it's £40 million worth of diamonds, puts it into presumably a bag, I'm not quite sure of that detail. Meanwhile, his black accomplice is holding a handgun to the head of a young sales assistant in the shop there. They leave the store. This all happens within moments or seconds, literally. She's got a gun to her head. They go to a waiting BMW car. Security staff follow them, and there's a warning shot fire. And you've got, perhaps the most exclusive area in the country, this, in terms of retail, real estate value, as the Americans would call it. Shots being fired. This BMW roars off into traffic, smashes into a black cab, and then they move on. There's more shots fired, warning shots, people to stay out of the way. And then there's a motorbike waiting up ahead. The BMW pulls in, it casually drops the gear into the motorbike cyclist's hands, and he's away. I mean, this is very well organised, this. The car moves on. They then switch into another car, variously thought to be a Mercedes or a Volkswagen Charan, and that car then vanishes later into the ether. So this all happened last Thursday, which is quite interesting because it's a long time ago. We knew there'd been a robbery. The media knew there'd been a robbery the next day. That was reported in various bits and pieces. But what we didn't know was the value of it, so thereby, the significance of it.
Funny, isn't it? Because normally when a crime is committed, the police will want very quickly to be able to say if anybody can add anything, saw anything. They'll be reconstructing this in about 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, they've taken a gamble here, and it's failed. What's that happened? They've gambled that they've got great CCTV images of these two suspects. They've apparently both got London accents. They were obviously gambling on the fact that one of their informants would recognise them. They've got to be Premier League to carry this out in the first place. And that hasn't worked. So yesterday they went public and revealed the fact that there were, in fact, £40 million worth of diamonds stolen. This is 5 days later. My own personal guess is that ice will be long out of the country. It will probably be broken down, the jewellery, sold off on the markets in either Antwerp or Amsterdam, which is where these things normally end up. There'll be a middleman somewhere along the line, and the robbers will probably end up with a couple of £1 million each in terms of their real, raw commodity value. But obviously, in the meantime, they've got the flying squad on their heels. So we will wait and see in the next few days what happens. All
right, thanks for the insight on that one, Mike.
Okay, Tommy, all the best.
Mike Sullivan, the Sun's crime editor.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio Networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Log on now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
What's this song you released? I can't believe this. Is there no end to your talent or any beginning to it?
Well, it's the Aussies versus the English, obviously, with the Ashes. Yeah. And it's the same as Vegemite versus Marmite. So we're on the Marmite side, and we've released Phil Tufnell's song, You Either Love Them or You Hate Them, obviously, the Aussies. Yeah. And that's coming out.
Can we just have a quick reprise of the song, and we're going to fade you out, Tuffers, as you sing. Go on.
We are Andy's army, here to make the Aussies blue. Love them or hate them, we're gonna beat them.
Plus, you can download our daily podcasts.
A lot of those songs define their teenage years, or certainly their courting years, don't they? I mean, especially things like Gold.
And True. I mean, True is the wedding song. I mean, I can't tell you how many blokes can't... Oh, thanks for that song, mate. It's sorted me out a few times. And you go, yeah, all right, listen, keep your personal life to yourself,
And watch our exclusive vodcasts.
Gaunty, if I can just say this, it was this government who made the marvellous step of making the first provision that Gurkhas would be allowed to settle in this country. It was this government. So all we asked for them to do was to build on this first principled act by giving a good policy.
Doesn't Joanna Lumley sound a little bit like Margaret Thatcher there?
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio Networks.
Quentin Tarrant, just ahead of talking to the folks from My Sun about what people have been posting up there about stories that are in the Sun today. We're also talking about Inglourious Bastards, which is Quentin Tarantino's new movie. And the question I'm asking is, what movie would you take with you? The one movie, if you had to choose one movie and take it to a desert island and watch it over and over and over, and that's all you've got. What is your favourite movie? Ed in Tottenham.
Hello.
Hello.
Shall we say hola to the Costas, seeing as you were out there as well?
No es un problema.
Muy bien, senor. Your Spain's getting better.
Thank you.
Now,
Gracias.
listen, never mind the films. You mentioned the state of the British economy.
Yes.
That's, you know, and I don't think you should be moaning about it.
Because?
Simply because this morning I turned on the tap and hot water came out. I slept in a bed under a roof of tiles.
Yes.
I put diesel into my air-conditioned vehicle this morning.
Right.
And there are so many people, millions in the world away from this little island that could only dream of turning a tap on.
Look, we'll
and
come
having
back to your
hot
philosophy
water.
later. What's the movie you would take with you to a desert island, dear boy?
Well, there's two.
Well, just want one.
Well, I don't know. There's two.
Go on, then.
Well, one I can't tell you about, and the second one... Well, I am a man.
Oh, that one. We've all got that one, but the one you can tell your mum about.
Can I ask you, is your one on VHS still?
Which film would you take with you to a desert island?
And where do you hide it in the house?
You've got 10 seconds, and the clock is ticking.
No, I'm more interested to know where you hide your old VHS cassette in your house.
It says on the screen you would take Escape to Victory, and since we're talking to Ossie Ardiles a little bit later on... Yes?
Say honour from me. What a great man.
All right, thank you for your call. 020 33 64 7000 is the number. Time for this.
Have your say on My Sun at thesun.co.uk.
And Francesca joins us to tell us what people are posting up on My Sun this morning. Morning.
Oh, morning.
I shan't call you what John does, or would you prefer to be called
You can
Posh
call me that.
Totty?
I quite like that.
You're quite happy being called Posh Totty, are
It's
you?
a nice one.
It's-
Compared to some of the other names you get.
There's a certain amount of truth in that, yes. OK, so on My Sun, Sun readers and Sun website users can post their thoughts about all sorts of stories and stuff that's going on. And what are they talking about today?
Oh, there's a lot of football stuff today, very football orientated, and mostly about England because of the Holland match. Today, particularly, we're talking about Almunia, the Arsenal goalkeeper, and they're asking whether he should be able to play. Fabio obviously said no because they say, well, he's not British, but he has got a British passport. So a lot of the users are saying, well, perhaps he should be allowed to play. Troy Y04 says, what an irony, he's Spanish, he shouldn't play for England. Well, Fabio, you are Italian, you shouldn't manage England. If by law he is British, why can't he play for England? Senna is Brazilian, he shouldn't play for Spain. Eduardo is Brazilian, he shouldn't play for Croatia. I can go on and on.
It could go on and on. I bet he does down the pub.
Yeah.
Are you bothered about sport very much?
Oh, I'm getting into it a bit.
Yeah.
Football more so, but...
Yeah, because I always wonder, when was the last England cricket team that consisted of 11 cricketers who were born in England and are totally English, if you like, to put it like that. I think the current one that's going out against the Aussies has got, I can't remember whether it's 3 or 4 South Africans in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, you just got to go with the flow, really, these days. Like, it certainly doesn't happen in other countries.
Well, in football, I mean, if you think about all the teams, rather than the national team, I mean, they're full of players from Spain and from all over, aren't they? So... I don't see why it should be any different for the national team. If they're proud to play and play for England, why can't they?
Absolutely. As long as they are prepared to make it clear that they are playing for England because they love England and they believe in England and, they want to kind of like fly the flag for our Premier League and all that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. And you've got another post on the same subject from...
on Niad Sun.
Oh, what's it pronounced? Oh, on the Ed Sun. Did you spell that?
Yeah, no, I didn't know. Just
No, it's spelled ONNEEADSUN. And it's an old football thing on the Ed Sun.
Oh, okay.
It means pass the ball to me so that I may head it.
I didn't see
Do
it.
it
but-
for me.
Well,
No, do it for me.
On me head, son.
No. On me head, son.
Oh, I can't.
Come on.
On me head, son.
Are you watching this? She's on. If you go to the website, then you'll be able to watch the streamed pictures. One more try, Posh Totty.
Can you say it again and I'll try and repeat?
On me head, son.
On me head, son.
That's it. You got it. What does on me head, son have to say?
He says Aluminium would play for Spain tomorrow, but they don't want him. So he turns to England, and even under a keeper crisis, guess what? England don't want him. Reason is he's crap.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not very nice, though, is it?
Well, you read it out, but you read it out beautifully, so you get away with it, don't you? Stay with us, Posh Totty. More on My Son in just a moment.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk. The home of free speech. Sun Talk. The home of free speech.
Hello, I'm Ali Ross, and every Monday you can hear me drop into the Sun Talk studios as I reveal what's been hot and what's not on the TV.
Ali Ross, the world's greatest TV critic from the Sun. Yeah, Graham Norton, it's been pulled. What's happened?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, you watched it, didn't you?
I watched one of them and I couldn't watch it again.
Wow.
Yeah, crap. No two ways about
I'm a
it.
completist. I've seen every episode,
And?
it doesn't get any better. Not only will you be able to hear John and I go head-to-head about the small screen, but you can have your say as well by calling 020 33 64 7000.
Do you like Celebrity MasterChef? Do you like MasterChef?
For
as a
some reason,
programme?
I've gone off this series, and I don't think it's kind of addictive, and I have found it addictive previous times. But I just think, well, what is the point? It's a souffle. I can't eat it, and it's Jane Middlemas.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Good morning, it's Tommy Boyd looking after Sun Talk whilst Jon Gaunt is on his holiday. I've taken loads of emails this morning from people saying that, John, it looks as though you've lost weight. So I'm doubly flattered. One, that people think I sound as good as Jon Gaunt, and two, that people think that I'm slim and trim. It's time for more of this.
Have your say on My Son at thesun.co.uk.
Now, Francesca's been telling us that they've been discussing whether the Spanish goalkeeper Almunia ought to be able to play for England. What else are they talking about on My Son,
They're
Francesca?
talking about Dennis the Menace. I don't know if you've seen about this, but apparently they're going to revamp it, and he's not going to be naughty anymore.
Yeah.
He's getting rid of his slingshots, and he's going to behave. No more bullying Walter the Softie. So a lot of the users aren't really happy about that, because they think they shouldn't be tampering with our old cartoons. And it's just...
What is Dennis the Menace? What comic did you, Francesca, take when you were little?
I was a Beano fan, but I did have
Beano.
the Dandy as well.
Beano and Dandy, they were good, weren't they? But we didn't go round shooting catapult pellets through people's windows or doing anything, you know,
it's just
antisocial,
a bit-
because we saw that Dennis the Menace was doing it.
He got a slipper every
He
time
got a
he did
slipper
it,
for
so
it, yeah.
it put me off trying to do that.
Oh, did it? So in actual fact, the message, the message, which you're right, the message was always behave.
Oh, exactly, because he
Got through to you a little bit, you think?
I think
Or
so.
are you just saying that?
No, I think so. I think I'm well behaved.
My view is that children understand the difference between comics and real life, or at least 999,000 out of 100,000 do. You know, and I can't see what's going to be in Dennis the Menace if he's not being a menace.
And it's just I think he'll just be doing
Dennis.
things by accident. Yeah,
Dennis
and-
the non-menace.
Yeah, it just. I mean, they changed it, I think, about a year or so ago when they stopped Dennis, bullying Walter, and I thought that was a bit of a shame. But now they've gone the whole hog and got rid of all of it.
Why don't you like Walter? Because he's a wimp.
Men shouldn't be wimps, should they?
Well, let's go a little bit deeper in that. I mean, do you think anybody bullied anybody because they saw Dennis giving Walter a bit of a hard time?
Not really.
Probably not.
I don't think so. I don't think it really affected anybody.
This is the BBC, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you go back as far as the mutant hit ninja
Oh,
Hero...
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles?
Yeah. Do you?
Oh, I absolutely adored it.
Did you?
I had everything.
Now, what was that called again? The Mutant Hero...
They had different names. They changed it quite a lot of time. I think it's... I'm not sure. I think it might have started Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it did.
And then they changed it to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, I think.
The Beeb did.
And it's gone back to... its
Worldwide,
original
it's the Ninja Heroes.
Mhm.
But the Beeb, when they bought it, they said, no, we can't use ninja in the title because that's going to encourage... Yeah, I know. This is what I heard. They said, we can't have ninja in the titles. With the BBC, it will encourage children to take up martial arts. Dubious martial
But
arts,
that's good to do martial arts. It keeps them fit and it's defensive.
They decided there was something in ninja that was possibly...
But most of it's not offensive, though, is it? When you're actually doing martial arts, it's more to protect yourself.
Look, I know that and you know that, but a lot of things go on at the BBC so that somebody on the other committee can't point out that you've made a slight mistake. So nobody makes any mistakes. So everybody is ultra cautious with everything.
Silly,
so they took the ninja thing out, and now it's back, isn't it? It was like, I don't suppose you're nowhere near old enough to remember a thing called Top Cat or Boss Cat.
I obviously know of it, but I didn't watch it when I was younger.
Right.
No.
Well, when they made that in America, that was called Top Cat.
Mhm.
But they changed the name to Boss Cat because there was a cat food called Top Cat.
Oh,
and
really?
they didn't want Top Cat to get any prominent...
What bad press or anything?
Good press.
Oh, good press.
People buying Top Cat for their cats to eat because there was a television programme named after it. This is what goes on.
I would have kept
This
the
is what
name.
middle management does in television.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't it? So,
Nasty.
Dennis the Non-Menace is going to be on our screens shortly. People are talking on My Son about that.
El Nino 9, he says that it's absolutely outrageous. Growing up, I read the Beano and got the annual every year at Christmas with Dennis the Menace, the Bash Street Kids and others all getting up to no good, using their slingshots and getting the slipper. It never did me or many others any harm, and I turned out perfectly decent with a good job and a respectable life. This PC stuff is going mad and must be stopped. Soon we won't be able to breathe without it either being bad for children.
Mm. There's a magnificent irony about political correctness, though, because if you actually try to kill off political correctness, that's because, in a sense, you're being politically correct. So you've had it.
That before.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Because it's kind of politically correct to think that something that politically correctness is wrong. That's a political correctness in itself. I read some piece about it somewhere.
Oh, that makes it even more
It
confusing.
just, don't you get confused?
Oh, I do.
And you so young. What's XOE got to say about the Dennis the Menace
Well,
thing?
they say instead of ruining classics, the people at the BBC should be coming up with new ideas. If we have to pay a licence fee, at least give us Dennis the Menace. If not all children's programmes, which have guns in them, should be banned, Dennis has a slingshot, for Christ's sake.
A slingshot, for Christ's sake?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have a slingshot? I thought he had a catty.
It's more like a catapult, really, isn't it? It's like a...
Isn't a slingshot what David did Goliath over with?
Yeah, I think so. He pulled it back for elastic, didn't he?
That's a catapult,
Yeah.
isn't it? A catapult is where you have that U-shaped stick thing with elastic
Mm-hmm.
on either of the top bits of the U, and you pull it back.
Maybe a slingshot's a smaller version of it, then.
No, a slingshot is where you've got kind of like a little cup, and you've got two bits of string, and you put the thing in the little sort of fabric cup, and you hold onto the long bits of string, and then you start whirling it round your head. And you say, "Come on, giant! Come on! Here I am!" And then you let go of one of the bits of string, and the stone flies out. Do not try this at home.
We wouldn't be allowed to use them at home
No.
anyway, would we?
No. We're talking with Francesca Postotti, according to Jon Gaunt, who's on holiday, from My Son, about what Sun readers and website users are posting on My Son. What other stories are they talking about?
There's also about the obviously soldiers is always a big topic, about Afghanistan, and there's a story at the moment about how the EU are not giving as many troops as they should be. So that's what they're also talking about.
Okay. And to log on to My Son, what do you do?
You go on to thesun.co.uk. You can click on the My Son logo, or you can go on to mysun.co.uk.
Francesca, thanks for that.
No worries.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Log on now now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
In the name of God, go. We're not asking Gordon Brown to go, i.e. resign out of office. We are asking him to go to the country. We need an election. Do you agree?
Yeah, I very much agree. And more importantly, I think millions of people across the country agree. I think your text vote will be pretty heavy.
The King of Pop is dead. Michael Jackson, at the age of 50, has sadly passed away. Suspected heart attack. Let's go live to LA now and speak to our US editor, Pete Sampson. They've started to shrine outside the hospital, have they already, the fans? Have the fans been gathering all night?
Yeah, they have. I mean, the hospital has been the sort of... I mean, there was I reckon maybe about £1,000 up there at one point.
Plus, you can download our daily podcasts.
It's The Enemy, and of course we've got Gordon in here as well. Good morning, lads.
Morning. Man.
What about the cliche of the difficult second album? It must be harder to write the second one when you've actually got a bit of cash behind you and a bit of success.
It's more getting out of the cycle, I think, not out of Coventry.
Yeah, I think, you know, we all love the city, and you know, we're massive fans of, you know, of the city, and I think actually, you know, it was like Andy said, it's more getting out of the mundane 9 to 5, you know, that we never wanted to find ourselves in.
And watch our exclusive vodcasts.
Hello?
Hi, Kelly, it's Ruth.
Hello?
Hi, how are you? Darling, I'm really, really sorry to ring you on your birthday.
Yeah.
But I'm ringing to let you know that you have won Page 3 Idol.
What?
You've won.
What?
You've won.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You're joking!
Tommy Boyd in for Jon Gaunt.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Now, the Irish say there's two sorts of people. People who are Irish and people who wish they were. And I say there's two sorts of people. People who love football and people who wish they did. Because it must be a dreadful business not to get it. And there are one or two who don't. But for those who do, and that, of course, is the vast majority of us, it's fantastic to welcome Richard Keys and Andy Gray, the top blokes, into the Sun Talk studio. Hello, Richard.
Sorry, can you say that, Tommy?
How are you, Andy?
I'm good, Tommy, thank you
very
very
much. You're
much.
looking fantastic,
yeah,
you
good.
guys.
Holidayed well.
You need to, don't you? Because you've got a long stint ahead of you again.
We have. I mean, it's been good this summer. I don't know about Richard, but for one of the few summers, Tommy, we haven't done any football. There's been no European Championships.
True.
There's been no World Cup. The Confederations Cup we weren't involved in at all. So it's been a really good summer in that respect, where we could just chill, recharge your batteries and get ready for this weekend coming.
But if you're honest, you also enjoyed last year because you enjoyed the European Championships as well, didn't you? And I know it's an interruption into a summer to a large degree, but he went west. You went to the States, didn't you?
I did actually, yeah.
And I went east. I went to work for Al Jazeera, and we enjoyed our summer for all of that. It was fun.
Yeah, but it's nice to get summer off, I have to say, Tom. I really have enjoyed just putting my feet up, forgetting about football in many ways.
Do you, though?
I do. I try to. I think when you've been in it as long as we two have, I mean, like 20 years, and, you know, I think it's important that you get away from it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I did this summer. I didn't read a lot of newspapers in June and half of July, but then, you know, but midway through July, you're starting to think fixtures are out.
Yeah.
The TV shows are out, and you start to think, right, let's get back into it now. Let's see who's coming and who's going. And
I think, you know, we all know the answer to this question, but I want to ask it, and I want to hear the answer. Do you get the same buzz that us football fans do?
I do. See, I'm listening to him, and he knows I'm different. I don't ever really get away from it. I absorb newspapers, I absorb television and radio, and I listen, and I try to keep myself on top of everything.
But
that's
when you're
happening.
doing that, are you thinking about your work? Are you thinking to yourself, right, I'll log that away because
I think
will
it's part
be
of your work, Tommy,
interviewing
because you know people often say, well, you know, where do you do all your homework? Well, all of the time is the answer. You're just watching, listening, hearing, absorbing, reading. That's where you do your homework. And you know, I love the business, and I'll tell you a little story very briefly. I was in a situation like this with Big Ron Atkinson when we started at Sky. We'd done a show together, me and Andy, and Ron had been bubbling with enthusiasm about a brand new season. And as he left the studio, I'm walking out behind him thinking, blimey, how long's he been in this game? 30 years or so? Then, if I can be that enthusiastic about this 20 years from now, I'll be okay. And I am 20 years on from them. I really look forward to it. I look forward to going into new stadiums. I look forward to kits. I saw Everton's this morning, that new kit with a little white flash down the front. I'm sad like that. Not quite as sad as some of my colleagues, but I love it, Tommy. I love it.
Thankfully, Tommy, I'm a little bit different from that.
What about the players? What kind of a buzz are they getting, do you feel? What kind of a buzz did you get a few days before the start of the new season, Andy?
Well, that is the big buzz. I think there's, in fact, the guy who drove me down today here, Tommy, to London from up in the Midlands, he said to me, "Do you miss playing?" I mean, daft question. But here am I, 20 years on, steady, 20 years on, and yeah, there is nothing. I said to him, "There's nothing will ever replace the feeling of playing football." So if these guys who are playing in the best stadiums there's ever been, on the best pitches there's ever been,
with the best coverage there's ever been.
I mean, I sit at home, sadly, Tommy, and my kids come in, and I try and at times entice them to watch some of my daft old videos, and try and find some goals that I've still got on tape, or whatever you call it. But these guys are so lucky that Alan Shearer scored, what has he scored, 300 goals or something like that. He's a recording of every single one of them.
Yeah.
You know, these things must be unbelievably good. So if they don't enjoy that, if they're not excited about that, then there'll be something wrong with them.
I just want to read you a quick paragraph, because the next guest is Ossie Ardiles, and his book Ossie's Dream is a great read. It really is, you know, because some of them are okay. This one's a cracker.
Top bloke as well, by the way. Top bloke.
I can't wait. Listen to this. He says, and Andy, you're going to so get this. Then he says, I won't do the accent. He says, if you ask me what is your dream, your real dream, I would give anything to be able to play one more match. And I don't mean a kickabout with some mates, I mean a proper football match. Just to walk into the room with all the kit laid out, the new socks, the boots, everything ready. Do a little run on the spot, bit of jumping up and down to warm up, then out into the tunnel and onto the turf of a real stadium. Hear the crowd, let my mind compute all the emotions and the strategies. Think of my loved ones, my loyalties, my fitness, and above all, who's going to be marking me. Just to hear the whistle blow one more time.
Souness, Graham Souness. I can't tell you the number of times I've sat with Graham Souness before a big game, just about to hand over to Andy, and you look out at the pitch, and you're close enough often to smell as well. And Graham says every time, he says, you know, I would give £1 million for one more game. What? And bearing in mind that every pound is a prisoner to Graham, that is a lot of money.
See, I got stick once from many years ago when I was asked a question, and probably in a similar situation as Tommy. And I hope we can talk about this in Breakfast Radio. But someone said to me, what gives you more satisfaction, Andy, scoring a goal or making love? Do you remember?
I do, son.
And my partner at the time was really disappointed, but I said, well, that's a ridiculous question. Of course it's scoring a goal. There is nothing quite like the feeling of the ball hitting the back of the net, because I know at 33, that was it. That was that. That feeling had gone forever.
Yeah. And the rest of it doesn't. That never leaves you, son.
No, I don't know about that. But there is nothing quite like it. You know, and I'm with Ossie, I'm with Graham Souness. Yeah. If I could just take you at your best, and Ossie means when he was at his best, Graham Souness means when he was at his best. Yeah. I would love to be when I was at my best. The one opportunity to go back and play in the modern era, on the modern pitches, in the modern stadium, with the coverage you get, and just see what it was like. I'd love to do that as well. But sadly, it'll only be in the head.
Yeah, but you got it there. The likes of Richard and me.
Sad.
We'd love to have done it.
Absolutely.
We'd love to have done it for one. We'd love to have come on for 20 minutes as a substitute.
Just a little wander round.
You were a good player, Richard.
You're not, Tommy, you're not wrong there.
How close did you get?
Not close enough. Never close enough.
How close did you get?
Never close enough.
How good were you?
Not good enough. I mean, I sometimes sit quietly and think, with all the things this guy's taught me about football, because when I started doing this job, the thing that was very evident to me was that I thought I knew about football. And then I started listening to the things that Andy talked about and the way in which he presented it to us. And I realised, blimey, I really don't know very much about football at all. And if I'd been able to have that sort of education at a younger age, and that's why I understand the importance of coaching and the importance of the academies and mixing with guys like this who have been there and done it, then you can make yourself, or give yourself perhaps the best chance you've got. And too many of us didn't have that opportunity. But it was, the penny dropped, as I say, when I sat listening to him. And that old programme we used to do on a Thursday night in the boot room, on a Sabutio table, moving counters around. And I'd sit there as baffled as the next man. But the great joy I had was that I was able to say, whoa, hang on a minute, you know, what do you mean? Explain that to me. And I can still do that. And I still do it with and to him. And I'm still learning things from him. And that's another great part of the job that's a real privilege, that most don't get, that I can sit and ask the questions.
Yeah, you're doing it for all of us, though.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, but I'm the one that gets to do the job, and that's
the
great.
ones that we're wondering as well, which is great. Now I'm just looking at the stats here. 92 live games in the Premiership on Sky this season, 450 altogether in all competitions, and your first one is Chelsea Hull.
Chelsea Hull.
The Chelsea, yeah.
That's the
Chelsea
12:30, is it?
12:45 kick-off. We were on air at
12:30.
12:30. So that'll be good. Down at the bridge. You know, after watching Chelsea last weekend, you know, looking forward to seeing him again, seeing how they cope, seeing if Ancelotti is going to continue doing.
Let's talk about what intrigues you most about this coming season. What is it? Is it that? Is it how the new regime at Chelsea works out? Manchester United without Ron, you know, Liverpool, can they just find those extra
I would love
few
it. The
points
one thing,
for Man City?
the one thing that gives Arsenal. I mean, I love Arsene Wenger. I love the way Arsenal play football. I love going to watch Arsenal play football. I would love Arsenal to win the title in order that Wenger could prove all of his critics wrong. I don't think they will, sadly, but that would give me great pleasure. There are some Burnley. I mean, Burnley, for instance. There is a town whose entire population you could fit inside Old Trafford. Playing Premier League football. The 44th different team to play in a league they said was a closed shop because no one would ever do what Wimbledon did previously. Well, they keep doing it. So I'm looking forward to seeing Burnley.
I think there's lots of questions, Tommy. I'm looking the ones you mentioned. Can United win the title without Ronaldo? Can Liverpool finally win the Premier League again, or the top title again? Can Arsenal get back to the top flight? Manchester City, I think, is one that every neutral football fan is looking at and thinking, you know, if they hit the ground running, if they gel, I mean, they could surprise everyone. If they don't, it could be like a pack of cards. So I think we're all waiting to see that. Can Martin O'Neill move Aston Villa forward again? David Moyes, can he keep doing what he's doing at Everton? And Harry Redknapp at Tottenham. Big pressure on Harry this year. A lot of money spent. A lot of expectation again around White Hart Lane. Again around White Hart Lane. And we're wondering, can they do that?
It's a magnet, isn't it? White Hart Lane. I'm looking forward to the season enormously. As I might as well just put my cards on the table. We could talk about relegation just for a second, because I'm a Pompey fan.
Oh dear.
I know. It's going from bad to worse than worse.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the teams I fear for, Tommy, I'm sad to say, at the moment. I'm not quite sure right now what the fixtures are like at the beginning of the season, but I think any team like that, like Pompey, I would put Hull in there, of the teams that survived last year, who desperately need a good start to the season, I think, you know, for their own confidence and their own belief that they can stay there.
But the other complication Pompey have got, of course, and Hull haven't, at least is off the pitch, Hull are settled. Pompey need that takeover sorted sooner rather than later, because you can't get back this time. No, it's the same up at Newcastle. Alan Shearer's waiting to be appointed to a job up there in, of course, Championship, but nevertheless, they're waiting, and the more days and the weeks that pass at this time of the year, the less chance you've got. Once that transfer window shuts, that's it till January.
People listening to this live or listening to the podcast, you'll agree with me, I'm sure. It's fantastic to have confirmed what we've known for a long time, which is that these two have got the same genuine schoolboy affection for the game that comes across in everything that they do professionally. But I want to ask you this. I mean, can you watch Match of the Day and forget that you're looking at it and also going, we do that better, we do that better, and just watch the game?
Well, I think with every broadcaster, though, Tom, everyone will think they do it better. Everyone does it differently. I think Match of the Day do it their way. Match of the Day is a recorded highlight show.
Yeah.
So
it's not Match of a Day any longer, is it? It's every match that's gone on.
Exactly. So they have their way of doing it.
After they've been on Sky.
You know, we have our way of doing it. Yeah, we have our way of doing it. And we think ours is good. We obviously think ours is the best. We'd be daft if we thought anything other than that.
No, that's fair.
All right, then let me try it another way. Do you on a Sunday morning, going out for a drive for whatever reason, slow down whenever you go past a pitch where there's a game going on?
On that Sunday morning, well, when you say go out for any reason, the reason generally is that we are turning up somewhere to cover football matches. And I would love to see Sunday morning football play, but by the time it is, I'm generally in situ, and he's not too far behind. I'll be on site on a Sunday, Tommy, 9, 10.
But the answer to the question is, if I'm driving and I'm in a situation where I can, if I see a game, I do slow down.
You do.
Do you know why I slow down, Tommy? And it's tough. I slow down in the off chance I'm going to see a goal.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
It's not.
I slow down and I think, if I slow down for 30 seconds, I might see a goal.
Good hit, son.
Do you know what I mean? I might see a goal. So that's why I do it.
Right, so now we've got to where I kind of want it to go, although nobody's going to be able to answer this question. I can't, and I've thought about it a lot. I reckon you two guys have thought about it even more than I have, maybe. So you might have an answer. Why does this game do what it does to you and to the majority of planet Earth?
No, that's
Why
a difficult...
this game?
It's our game.
It's the world's game.
It's our national sport. Yeah, it is. But it is. No, you're right. But we always feel it is our game, don't we? It's like one of the family. It's I don't know the answer to that.
I think we'd need to go way back, wouldn't we? I think we'd need to go back to the origins of it, how it began. You know, people in 100 years ago, 80 years ago, didn't have what our kids have these days. Tell me they had something, one thing. That one thing was this brand new sport called football that that locked communities together and the support of their team. Do you know what I mean? It's that. I think we have to go back that far.
Yeah, there's a lot of tribalism about it, isn't there, from that point of view?
Yeah, I remember reading that, going way back, tens of thousands of years, the ideal number for a hunting party was between 10 and 12 men. Yeah. I mean, they'd come back with a head or something rather than a football.
And then they started kicking that head about.
Probably. Something like that. But thank God they did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, very much so.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you in action. Your first game, as we said, is Chelsea-Hull, 12:45 kick-off on Saturday. Is that the pair of you?
Yeah.
Yes, it generally is. Where I go, Andy tends to be, and where he is, I will tend to follow.
Yeah, and we've got a good Super Sunday right on the back of that, Tom. It's a big weekend because we're up first game up on a Sunday, double-header Sunday. We've got the champions, Manchester United, and our early kick-off against Birmingham from Old Trafford. And then Richard, me, Jamie, Martin Tyler will be at White Hart Lane.
Fabulous.
For Liverpool's arrival there. So a really good Sunday coming up as well. So it's a really good big weekend.
And right on the back of that, there's the Champions League on Tuesday and Wednesday night, Andy. And
Celtic against Arsenal.
Yeah, some of those 400-odd games Tommy was talking about.
We start to cross them off.
The enthusiasm and the adrenaline, that gives you all the stamina you need. Really great to see you two guys. Thank you for
Tommy,
coming
it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Tommy.
Nice to see you.
Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Log on now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
What's this song you released? I can't believe this. Is there no end to your talent or any beginning to it?
It was the Aussies versus the English, obviously, with the Ashes.
Yeah.
It's the same as Vegemite versus Marmite. So we're on the Marmite side, and we've released Phil Tufnell's song, You Either Love Them or You Hate Them, obviously, the Aussies.
Yeah.
And that's coming out.
Can we just have a quick reprise of the song, and we're going to fade you out, Tuffers, as you sing. Go on.
We are Andy's army, here to make the Aussies blue. Love 'em or hate 'em, we're gonna beat 'em.
Plus, you can download our daily podcasts.
A lot of those songs define their teenage years, or certainly their courting years, don't they? I mean, especially things like Gold.
And True. I mean, True is the wedding song. I mean, I can't tell you how many blokes can't. Oh, thanks for that song, mate. It's sorted me out a few times. And you go, yeah, all right, listen, keep your personal life to yourself, you know.
And watch our exclusive vodcasts.
Gaunty, if I can just say this, it was this government who made the marvellous step of making the first provision that Gurkhas would be allowed to settle in this country. It was this government. So all we asked for them to do was to build on this first principled act by giving a good policy.
No, doesn't she? Doesn't she? Doesn't Joanna Lumley really sound like Margaret Thatcher?
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Thanks very much indeed, everybody who's emailed the show. gaunty@suntalk.co.uk is the email address. We read and cherish all the emails we receive, and we try and read out as many of them as possible, and certainly all the ones that we can. Keith is listening in Spain. He heard us talking about the Beano and Dennis the Menace, and he says, look, how PC mad can you get? This story is that the BBC, who have a television version of Dennis the Menace, have decided to tone down some of his hard edges. So, for example, Nasher's not going to bite anybody anymore, Dennis is not going to have a go at Walter, and he's not going to be allowed to use a catapult anymore. And Keith makes this point. I think it's a really good point. He says, how PC mad can you get? Everybody who read the Beano and read Dennis the Menace, picking on Walter, always knew that in the end, Walter always came out on top. And, you know, Keith, I think that's a really good point. I understand why children's television programme makers at the BBC want to keep themselves absolutely squeaky clean, but I think, you know, that's a really good point, and thank you for that. Point well made. Yeah, got an email from JG who says if anybody were to be cast away on a desert island, they wouldn't be able to watch their all-time favourite film because there wouldn't be any electricity. Yeah, stay in the spirit of the thing, JG. Gaunty at suntalk.co.uk. What's your favourite film? Your all-time favourite film, the film that you would take with you to a desert island. Keith has emailed, my favourite film would have to be 12 Angry Men with Henry Fonda. Yeah, that is a terrific film. I'm not sure I could watch it over and over and over. There aren't many laughs in it, but it's a terrific plot if you've ever seen it, and it's a beautiful performance by Henry Fonda, isn't it? So thanks for that. What's your favourite film? The film that you could watch over and over again, the thing that would keep your head above the water if you found yourself either banged up or else marooned on a desert island. Gaunty at suntalk.co.uk. It's Tommy Boyd in for Jon Gaunt, who's taking what he describes as a well-earned holiday. Hope you're enjoying yourself and you're dangling your toes in the briny, John. If you're listening to this, I've got an email in from this. To promote, I haven't got a name. Be nice if you send an email in, if you could just say who you are. I'd be really grateful. But this is an interesting email that says, to promote equality and diversity, Harriet Harman has now decided that 50% of radio presenters should be female, 25% black, and 25% gay. So, oh, Sean it is. So, that leaves no room for you, Gaunty. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Still. I still can't get the show on my mobile phone, although it gets 240 other stations. Yeah, we're working on that, and in the not-too-distant future, there's going to be a really nice app for you so that you can listen to Suntalk on your mobile phone. And thanks to JG, who sent in a photograph of a steam gramophone. Anyone stranded on a desert island island, he says, would only be able to watch anything if it had a wind-up mechanism. Thank you for that. What time is it now? It's just gone 11:30, and it's time for this.
Sun Videos with Diddy Biddy David Ross.
Morning, David.
Morning, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. You?
Very good. Really exciting day of video today. Really good.
Excellent. Okay, well, over to you. What you got?
Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is you would have seen in the paper today details of this audacious heist and frightening heist at the Graf store in London.
Yeah, yeah.
And randomly there was somebody filming with their mobile phone, and they captured the drama of the escape, and so we've got that up on the site right now. Really sort of dramatic footage.
Raw, yeah, something really happening.
I mean, you hear gunshots, you hear screams, you hear commotion, and you see you see the two of the
villains.
Two of the villains. Yeah, it's a quite amazing piece of footage that was achieved really through the luck of someone with a mobile phone.
Brilliant. You got the whole thing up there, or have you had to take anything out?
No, I think the police want us to keep it up there. So
great.
It's
yeah. We were talking to the Sun's crime editor about this story not long ago today, and he said that the way the police are playing it is that they figure that these guys are going to be known to somebody because they're not in disguise, or apparently not in disguise. And so they're just hoping that the phone will ring. And so I suppose every little bit helps.
Absolutely, and so if check out the if you think you might be able to help, maybe you can check out the Sun's video, www.thesun.co.uk.
Yeah, nice one. Whereabouts is that on the site?
That's bang on the homepage right
Lovely.
now.
Okay, good.
Front and centre.
I like to help with navigation. So the heist, that's a great video. What else have you got?
Alien tadpoles.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Come on.
Well, they're not they're not actual aliens. They're just kind of, that sort of scene in the film Alien where the monster comes out of Sigourney Weaver's stomach and sort of...
That will be John Hurt, but I know what you mean.
I'm talking about Aliens.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Fine, sorry.
Your Aliens is a superior sequel.
We'll do that in a minute. Carry on.
This is really gooey, horrible, grim stuff. And it's essentially tadpoles feasting on eggs. And this is part of some sort of breeding program to help the endangered mountain chicken frog. Now, you can care about... You might be into your science and science and nature, and I'm sure our environment editor, Ben Jackson, would talk about the importance of it. I just like it from a content video point of view. It just makes you get...
And you can't take your eyes off it.
You can't. It's really fascinating footage.
Endangered mountain chicken frog. The mountain...
It's one of the biggest problems in society today. There just aren't enough.
Yeah.
You can never have enough mountain chicken frogs.
I was going to say, I don't think the frog could get its PR image any worse, and then along comes the chicken frog.
Yeah. Well, this is, whether it's John Hurt or Sigourney Weaver, this is grim, but worth seeing.
Okay. So, alien tadpoles. Yeah, you're right. You're on a roll today. What else have you got?
We've also, I don't know if you saw the story about the brave boy Harley who's in hospital with meningitis. Yesterday, the Sun arranged for his TV hero Sporticus in the kids show Lazy Town to come and visit him. So we've got the footage of that visit, and it's really moving stuff.
It is, and I read that piece twice this morning on the train. One of the nurses looking after Harley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Said it brought a tear to the eye because I saw him smile, and it's the first time I've ever seen him smile. And you got that up there.
We've got that up there. It's really moving footage, and Sporticus really did a very, very...
he does his stuff, yeah. Because there was something in that article I didn't know, which is that the guy who does that, Lazy Town, if you've seen it, if you haven't, you don't know what we're talking about, but he's 44. He keeps himself trim, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's 3. Anything else?
And I just want to mention Big Brother, because whilst it's not big particularly this year in TV ratings, it's one of these things that's got a big online audience. And a lot of people just like to kind of know what's going on, just so they can, chat about it with someone that happens to bring it up. And 2 interesting clips. One is of this guy, Freddie. He's kind of like a bit of a posh boy, but perfectly pleasant. And he really had a breakdown on the show yesterday, and it sort of brings that whole debate up, kind of thing. But he really was... more than reduced to tears. He was physically shaken by a verbal attack from a fellow housemate who used to be a friend of his, and it kind of just—it's a real. These two videos, I'm mentioning these two videos, it really sort of they're 2 ends of the spectrum of reality TV. The other is Sophie Reed, who is an extraordinarily large-breasted young woman. And her belief is that during her time in the show, her breasts have got much bigger.
Okay.
And
that's not going to pass unnoticed, is it?
And there's now a wider debate that she might be pregnant because of a fling she had earlier in the series.
Well, I say oh dear, but we've been heading in that direction for the last 10 years, haven't we?
So this, every year we kind of think maybe this will be the end of Big Brother. Well, maybe this will be the end of Big Brother.
Maybe this will be the end of Big Brother. Okay, you're really hot today, David Ross. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Cheers.
You never know who's listening to the home of free speech.
Now, one of the best bits of my job is that from time to time you get to read a book which has been written by somebody who you've heard of, and if it's a footballer, then you think to yourself, oh gosh, what am I in for here? Because sometimes they're not absolutely brilliant reads, and that's because the footballer probably hasn't written it himself. But I've been looking forward to my next guest, I can tell you, ever since somebody handed me this book, which is called Ossie's Dream, and told me that I was going to meet Ossie Ardiles. Senor.
Hello.
¿Cómo está?
Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. If you might not be a football fan, in which case let me quickly tell you this, that if you were to win the greatest prize in sport, which is the World Cup, then you would expect to be a hero in your own country for the rest of your life. You would not expect to be an even bigger hero in another country. And especially you would not expect to be an even bigger hero in your adopted country if your adopted country and the country of your birth, for whom you won the World Cup, find themselves at war. And this is just one of many reasons why Ossie's Dream is such a wonderful read. Ossie, you look as fit as I expected you to.
Well, I was a lot fitter when I was playing, but can't complain.
Yeah. Let's just rush through your life a little bit, and then obviously everybody wants to know. Lots of people have been sending in questions for you, which we'll get to in just a second. But first of all, your life in Argentina before football became your full-time job. In your book, you say that there was a time when you were kind of a full-time trainee footballer, a full-time professional soldier, and a full-time law student.
Not professional, no professional soldier. I was in Argentina at the time. It was the National Conscription Army. I mean, you had to do it for a year. So I was, when I was 20, I was a soldier for Argentina. I was in the Air Force, and at the same time I was studying law. My father was a lawyer, so that was all the time my number one thing. But of course it was my passion. I was playing football, and I was already in the first team, and I was in love with what is now my wife. So it was you can say a very hectic time.
You met when you were both students, didn't you?
We did, yes. We met. We were preparing something to one exam together. I approve, and she never. So, but that is another story.
Okay, good. She's fine and well and happy now. You've got two boys who are going to make you a granddad soon.
I have two boys that they have made me a granddad. Incredibly, the old one, Pablo, with Amy, his wife, have a girl, Sophie. She arrived 10 days late. Federico with his wife Sarah, they were expecting twins, and we had the twins, and they were 1 month before, and they all arrived in the same day, the 29th of June.
Okay.
So that will be a big celebration next year.
Fantastic. Let's go back to the second part of your book, Ossie's Dream, which is about what presumably is one of, if not the biggest occasion of your life, which is playing in the World Cup final for your country, in your country, and winning it. But you went into the game carrying an injury.
I went to the final, yes, certainly. I didn't play the game before against Peru. I was very, very doubtful. I would say if it was any other game, I would not have played because I wasn't really, really fit. But Menotti, the manager, he needed me. He said, "Also, you have to play the game. However, you play as much as you can." At the end of the day, I played about 65 minutes in the final. That was enough, say. And I mean, it would have been a tragedy for me to play all the games and not play all the preparation game, all the game before the World Cup and so on, and not playing the final. It would have been a tragedy, really. So I'm very, very, very happy that I was able to play for at least 60 minutes. Yeah. But for any normal man, I wouldn't have played. I was feeling I have an injury in my foot. It was a very bad one.
And you say in your book that after the game, when the whistle went, you can hardly remember anything because it was such a blur of enormous emotions and everything. How long did it take for you to understand that there was somebody on the phone wanting to talk to you who was an Englishman called Keith?
Yes, well, it took me quite a long time. Yes, we were like kind of dust. I mean, we didn't know we were standing. To be perfectly honest, I don't remember a lot about the game itself. It was a kind of, you were in a kind of movie. Everything was happening and happening and happening. A goal, we are winning. Oh, we are touching the World Cup, and suddenly they drew, and we looked very vulnerable at the time, and at the end we won it. And again, when it finished, somehow it was it was a kind of elation. Obviously, it was a big responsibility. It was a great, great honor to represent your country and to win the World Cup. Everything, but everything kind of connected. I had to say, when the World Cup finished, the only thing I thought about it was my family. Basically, my wife. I have a little kid at the time, and especially my father and my mother. I mean, for them to have a son to be playing the World Cup, must have been a great day for them.
And then there's a man on the phone wanting to talk to you. You could have gone and played anywhere after that. You could have stayed in Argentina, of course. You could have gone to Mexico, where there's a lot of money to be made. You could have gone to Italy, or you could have gone to Spain. So how come you came to England and Tottenham?
You said, because it was a man called Keith Wilkinshaw that suddenly was in Argentina. I wanted to play in Europe, basically. That was my dream, after the World Cup. But when I say Europe, I was thinking what normally Argentinian players were playing. Basically Spain, Italy, maybe France. Never, ever crossed my mind to be playing in England. But suddenly, out of the blue, Keith Wilkinshaw was there, and it was an offer for me. It was an offer to the club. The club accepted. They were delighted with the offer. Maybe they were trying to get rid of me. And suddenly the offer was on the table, and like everything else in life, you had to say yes or no. Maybe I say no, I may have played in Spain, maybe, or Italy. But the offer was there, and I like it working so very, very much. It was not only me coming, it was Ricky, that we were roommates in the World Cup, so the two together, and well, it sounded great. I mean, not only that, it was going to be London as well, that it was the capital. So put everything on the table, and we were delighted.
Well, it was a big shock in England, I can tell you, in the world of football. It was a big, big shock that somebody had managed to lure such eminent foreign footballers to England at that time, because English football was in a bit of a doldrum at the time, and it was a bit of a shock to you when you got here. There were quite a few things you had to deal with.
We had to deal with a lot of things, but I have to say that wherever we were, or with Ricky, we were incredibly welcome. We were the novelty. Everybody wanted to, not only the Tottenham people, I mean, the Tottenham people have been superb over all these years, but not only Tottenham people from supporting other team, they want to see us because they want to see something a little bit different. And England has changed enormously from this time, 78 to now, 30 years ago.
Yeah, we've got grass on our pitches now.
Yes. Now they're all wonderful.
And we pass it to the midfield.
Yes, and then you pass the one to the midfield now. Before it was somehow all the time in the air and watching the ball bounce, and you had to fight for every ball. And when you have it, it was pressure and so on. It is right now as well. I mean, England is the best place to play football in the world right now. Maybe some people will say Spain. Spain is quite good as well. But it has changed out of recognition. England, culturally, in fact, not only in football, it was a kind of Iceland. England did things in their own way, and this is it. That was the best way, and we're not going to change and so on. But it's incredible how things have changed. The black after arriving 3 or 4 months later, Bill Anderson was the first black player to play for England. He was booed as soon as he touched the ball. Incredible has changed. You look at the national team right now. So look at the amount of foreign players playing in the Premier League. Amazing. Incredible how things have changed.
It is, and it's a lot more sophisticated now when it comes to diet. Is it true what you say in the book that they decided at Spurs that you needed beefing up, so they fed you nothing but chocolate?
It's a lot of chocolate. Yeah.
Really? Seriously?
Yes. Yeah.
They made you eat chocolate?
They don't make me. I mean, I love it. So
they encouraged you to
but
eat chocolate.
They encouraged me.
Weight on.
I was blessed in that. I mean, Ricky, for example, he eat a little bit out of the diet, he will be having a lot of problems. He had to run it harder, and me, no, I can eat as much as I can. I can eat 1, 2 steaks, a lot of chocolates, no problem. I never put 1 gram in my body, so I was very, very lucky in that respect. Okay. On the other hand, I love chocolate, so I certainly did that.
If you want to ask Ossie a question, you could email it in. He's going to be here for another 10 minutes, good 10 minutes. It's gaunty@suntalk.co.uk. We're delighted to have Ossie Ardiles, the legendary Ossie Ardiles, on Suntalk this morning. So here you are, you're at Spurs, and you're building a great team, very good Spurs team are being built. We'll talk about that for just a second, but then there's this moment which has given a real sort of, a real sort of focal point to your life outside of football and inside of football, which is, of course, that Gualtieri invaded. Forgive me, I will call them the Falklands. I know you stick with Malvinas, but we'll agree to differ on that. That's not a problem. Yeah. But those two things, you're building a great side, and then this happens. And I'm particularly interested to hear when you first got a sniff, when you first heard that this had happened, because you must have known straight away this was huge for many people, but for you in a particular way.
Definitely, I felt it. Yeah, we were building a great team. We had Glenn Hoddle, Steve Archibald, Gus Crook, Ricky was coming to his normal self. He was brilliant as well, Steve Perryman, etc. So we were winning things. We were, in a way, we were the team of the moment. We were starting to compete with Liverpool. That was a fantastic team. And suddenly things were going so well that I was thinking, well, life cannot be so easy, so nice, so beautiful. Maybe something, not because I am pessimistic or fatalistic, no, but somehow I started to see maybe something will happen. And out of the blue, I remember reading the very first news. It was a very little piece in the paper saying that some Argentinian people were in the Falklands with some military connection. And I started to think maybe it could be a problem. And it started to escalate, and we finished in a war. And it was, for me, it was absolutely devastating. The worst period of my life, without a shadow of a doubt. The country I was born, the country that have adopted me, they were fighting, and especially, very especially, when actually the war started, when there were starting to be people there from one side and people there from the other side. It was an incredible, bad moment for me. I tried to concentrate in my football. I couldn't. It affected my whole life completely.
And we looked at you because you were the only Argentines we knew, you and Ricky.
Well, yeah, that's right. We were incredibly famous. We won the FA Cup once. We won it that year as well. Yeah, we were the most identified Argentinian in England by far. There were some other, Sabatini, for example, you remember the girl that played tennis, but they would come, they would play a certain tournament, but they were not actually based in England.
Yes, we remember her for slightly different reasons, but you'll understand.
Yes.
We'll take a very quick break. It's Sun Talk with Tommy Boyd in for Jon Gaunt, and we are honoured to be talking with Ossie Ardiles.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Log on now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
In the name of God, go. We're not asking Gordon Brown to go, i.e. resign out of office. We are asking him to go to the country. We need an election. Do you agree?
Yeah, I very much agree. And more importantly, I think millions of people across the country agree. I think your text vote will be pretty heavy.
The king of pop is dead. Michael Jackson, at the age of 50, has sadly passed away. Suspected heart attack. Let's go live to LA now and speak to our US editor, Pete Sampson. They've started to shrine outside the hospital, have they already? The fans? Have the fans been gathering all night?
Yeah, they have. The hospital has been the sort of... there was I reckon maybe about 1,000 fans up there at one point.
Plus, you can download our daily podcasts.
It's the enemy, and of course we've got Gordon in here as well. Good morning, lads.
Morning. Man.
What about the cliche of the difficult second album? It must be harder to write the second one when you've actually got a bit of cash behind you and a bit of success.
It's more getting out of the cycle, I think, not out of Coventry.
Yeah, I think we all love the city, and we're massive fans of the city, and I think actually, it was like Andy said, it's more getting out of the mundane 9 to 5, that we never wanted to find ourselves in.
And watch our exclusive vodcasts.
Hello?
Hi, Kelly, it's Ruth.
Hello?
Hi, how are you? Darling, I'm really sorry to ring you on your birthday.
Yeah.
But I'm ringing to let you know that you have won Patreon.
What?
You've won.
What?
You've won.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You're joking!
It's Tommy Boyd in for Jon Gaunt, and this morning with Ossie Ardiles.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
And I'm lucky enough to be talking to Ossie Ardiles, whose autobiography, Ossie's Dream, is out now, and it's a darn good read. There's a lot of good stuff about football in it, and a lot of interesting stuff about life in general and what it does to you. And that's where we've got to in our little chat, which is that Ossie, having chosen England ahead of all the other countries, many of which at the time had you might say, stronger football than England, then found himself, having built a decent team at Spurs, in a country which is at war with the country of his birth. The British people, what sort of stick did you take from the terraces?
From the terraces, yes, but as I was saying that, they were kind of obviously the opposition, the supporters, they all the time trying to put you off, so they will use anything that is possible. So, for example, when Glenn Hoddle was to take a corner, they will say something to him, and so when I touch the ball, they will say something to me as well, or to Ricky. But after saying that, from the personal point of view, we never have a single problem, not at all.
Good, but you did have a time in football away from the United Kingdom. You were lent to France.
That's right. I went to Paris Saint-Germain for 1 year, but I only stayed there for 6 months and come back to England. All the 6 months helped me to... I played the worst football in my life. I couldn't believe I could play so badly.
Yeah, you say in your book you were almost missing England.
I was missing England badly, and my family was missing England badly. Celia, my wife, and my 2 boys. My 2 boys were in school and so on. We went to Paris, big lifestyle, international school in Paris, beautiful. Paris is a wonderful city, of course. But we were missing England. We were missing... As a player, I never wanted to change club. I wanted to be... Because I knew what happened with some other players that they were before me, say in Italy and so on. All the time moving clubs. It was a big problem for the family life. I believe the family life is incredibly important. And so I didn't want that to happen to me. So in principle, I could have moved from Spurs in the first year, in the second, basically any time I want. But I never wanted to. I wanted to play for Spurs.
But you were missing Spurs, and because time is always the enemy on the radio, I want to just move on a little bit so that we can get everything in. After a distinguished playing career, which ended in the last 20 minutes of a game at Swindon, you went into management, and it's clear in the book you only really ever wanted to manage Spurs.
Oh, yes. Well, first, I have to say my first love is to play football. That's it. I wanted to play football, and of course, I found it when I played the 10 years I played for Spurs, they were wonderful. Just to walk in Whitehall Lane with all these great players next to me, it was just a dream come true, really. So I just wanted to manage. I wanted to manage, and basically I was preparing all my time to fulfill my dream as a manager. And my dream as a manager, you gave me at the time Real Madrid, Barcelona, national team of Argentina, and so on, or Spurs. It would be Spurs. That's it. So I was having a great time in West Brom. We were promoted in Wembley, and great year. But suddenly the call came from Spurs, and I couldn't say no. So I fulfilled my dream. And like all dreams, sometimes they can go a little bit sour.
One of the things that's characterised all your management, like a lot of managers, you've managed at several clubs in several countries, on several continents. But you almost seem to have been drawn towards the sound of a different type of gunfire, which is, financial crises and difficulties with difficult chairmen and things like that. Yes?
Yeah, well, you have everything, and that is what made life interesting. Yes, of course, I have been in certain countries. Incredibly, Saudi Arabia, for example, Israel at war. I was in Croatia after the war as well. A lot of very difficult chairman, yes.
Even at Swindon, your first managing job, one of the first things that happened was that the police called.
The police called, yes. We were playing a game and the police called and arrested our captain. Our captain, Colin Colley, was in jail, and we were all come back to the stadium. So there were very interesting times. But after saying that, the overwhelming thing was the football, and football was great.
Yes, absolutely. I've got a couple of emails I want to read you out. One from Mark, who says, "Hi, Ossie, delighted that you've written the book. We'll be buying it as soon as I can. Can you please get your boots back on as well, as Spurs are sadly lacking a niggly little midfield maestro like you. I watched you on the terraces at Spurs through the late 70s and early 80s, and will always remember your little dance around the Wembley pitch when we won the FA Cup in 1981. And then this one from Mike, who says, I just wanted to ask Ossie if he realises how much he's loved by Spurs fans.
Yes, I do. Tottenham have been my club. I think I said in the book, somehow I have been born to play for Spurs, because Spurs always play in a particular way. Out there is faceres, to do is dare is to do. This was my motto all the time. This is what I did when I was a player. This is what I did when I was a manager. I knew that it was not good enough for Tottenham just to win things, and how you pinch a win here, you pinch a draw there, and you have 1 point more, 2-3 points more. No, you have to play in a certain manner, and the certain manner is in the school of Danny Blanc, Flower, Bill Nicholson, etc. So this is what I always wanted to do.
Could talk to you all day, and listen to you all day, is what I should say. It's a real pleasure to meet you, Ossie Ardiles, and your book, Ossie's Dream, My Autobiography, is out now. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Good luck with your ambitions. I know one of them can't happen, which is to play another game. That's old father time. But to take a team to the World Cup as the manager, who knows? Good luck.
That will be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and adios.
Thank you.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech.
Hello, I'm Ali Ross, and every Monday you can hear me drop into the Sun Talk studios as I reveal what's been hot and what's not on the TV.
Ali Ross, the world's greatest TV critic from the Sun. Yeah, Graham Norton, it's been pulled. What's happened?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, you watched it, didn't you?
I watched one of them and I couldn't watch it again.
Wow.
Yeah, crap. No true way about
I'm a
it.
completist. I've seen every episode,
And?
it doesn't get any better. Not only will you be able to hear John and I go head-to-head about the small screen, but you can have your say as well by calling 020 33 64 7000.
Do you like Celebrity MasterChef? Do you like MasterChef?
For some reason, I've gone off this series, and I don't think it's kind of addictive, and I have found it addictive previous times, but I just think, well, what is the point? It's a souffle. I can't eat it, and it's Jane Middlemas.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Very busy morning this morning on Sun Talk, and I'm delighted to say that Richard Keys and Andy Gray are on their way, as is Ossie Ardiles, signing autographs and getting pats on the back from everybody here. But now we turn to a different type of light entertainment itself, really, and talk to some young men, been looking forward to this all morning, who kind of from nowhere, as far as the general British public are concerned, went from, well, nowhere to absolutely everywhere, and that is the wonderful street dance band called Diversity. Who have we got with us this morning from Diversity? It's Terry and Perry, is that right?
Yep.
That's it.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good.
Good. And a guy called Julian who's with you as well from Barclays Spaces for Sports, which we'll get to in just a second. The reason that you're talking to everybody today, you two guys, is because of what you've been hearing about other teenagers who just feeling no connections with their local community. What can either of you tell us about that?
I mean, the reason why we are here today is obviously Barclays and Spaces for Sport. It's a £30 million project, which was it started five years ago,
yeah.
And they've got over 200 sites all over the UK. And basically, it's for they're improving sports facilities in sort of like run-down areas and troubled areas, and basically giving the kids something to do so they can get back to the community, give back to the community and just become tighter.
What about the two of you? We'll talk to Julian from Barclays a bit more about Spaces for Sports in just a second, but what about the two of you, either of you, Terry or Perry? What sort of a sense did you have of... What ages are you now, by the way, can I ask?
I'm 13.
Yep.
I'm 24.
Yeah, so Terry first, when you were a very small teenager, just getting into your teens, what sense did you have of the community where you lived?
I mean, my community's always been cool, but I've always had dancing. Ever since I was 8, so...
An activity?
That's it.
Something to focus on?
Something to focus
something to do, something to get better at?
That's it.
OK, that was Terry. Then Perry?
I think I didn't really have a lot, but till I found dancing about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I saw Diversity performing. And I just... something that I had to do. And I went to lessons and started from there.
Did you do this yourself, or did your folks help you, or what?
Yeah, my parents just take me there, and but something that I really wanted to do myself, yeah.
Now, great, and well done, by the way. I haven't said well done. I'm sure I'm the 900,000th person to say it, but well done.
Thank you.
You just blew us. You blew everyone away, didn't you?
Cheers.
When did you know you had it in the bag, winning?
We didn't know at all.
Not until they said it?
No.
You didn't smell it?
No.
We was happy we just got second, weren't we?
Yeah.
Okay. There's just a bit more on this survey then. Let me just do a couple of the details. Nearly 2/3 of teenagers feel no connection with their local community. And of almost 3,000 teenagers surveyed by Barclays Spaces for Sports, 1 in 4 say that people in the public eye who they don't know but admire from afar have more influence over them than anyone else in their own lives. Okay? And Diversity have backed this research. It also points towards increasing community detachment amongst teenagers as they get older. So 10% of the 13-year-olds felt no links with their community. 18-year-olds, 20% of them felt no links in their community. So let's flip it to Julian Wandsworth from Barclays Spaces for Sports. So you've got this information, Julian. What are you doing?
Well, for myself, I'm one of the beneficiaries of one of the Barclays Spaces for Sports Foundation sites, and what we deliver in our local community is a programme on the site, engaging young people in a range of sports and activities. We consulted with young people prior to actually obviously putting the facilities in about what activities they wanted at what times, and I think that's an important part of it, to consult with young people and treat them like young adults. And what we developed in our programme is a range of activities. We run about 20 hours worth of activities outside a week, and probably about 15 or the same amount inside.
What sort of activities are you talking about here?
Well, for the Barclays Spaces for Sports site, we the traditional activities like basketball, tennis, football, cricket, and activities like that. But we also run other activities to support the sports element of the programme. Health information, drop-in service around health, accreditation routes for young people that want to go on and get accredited courses, including coach leadership.
Right.
Lots of volunteering opportunities, both on the sports programme and volunteering in the local community, environmental clear-ups, and a whole range of programmes to support young people through education and training. So for me, the sport, what Barclays Spaces for Sport have achieved here is produce new facilities in rundown areas, and using sport as a tool to engage lots of young people, and then signpost and support them in other aspects of their lives for personal and social development. And what we've seen from our area is that both adults and young people are working together now. Youth crime rates have been reduced massively, and the whole community now have got a buzz about it, about young people being seen in a different light in their own community, and this is all down to one part of it being new facilities.
Brilliant. Where's all this going on?
This is going on in a place called Bransby Park, which is the southeast part of Portsmouth.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's come back to Terry and Perry then from Diversity for a second. You do realise that the fact that teenagers rate celebrities and people on TV in particular, successful people in the public eye, as being more important than virtually anybody else in how they start to shape their lives, obviously this means that you're important. You're an important influence. And it probably started right from when we first saw you on television. I know you had great success as a street band before. You were right across the UK on TV, but now you're role models.
That's it.
Now, do you do anything differently?
No, I mean, we've always, I mean, we've done a lot of workshops within schools and shopping centres, just trying to give back. That's what we've always done. That's what we're about,
It shows. I mean, and, the idea behind the outfit is so brilliant in so many ways, isn't it? Whose idea was it?
What, a Diversity?
Yeah.
That was Ash and his mother.
Okay. And that's what you've gone and done? You weren't put together by some cynical bunch of PR people. It was your idea, and you've done it that way.
That's it.
Brilliant. And that's the message. What about yourself, young Perry? Are you aware that people might be influenced by how you behave?
Yeah. So obviously we've got to just make sure that we are a big influence, and we just make the right choices.
Okay. And what are those right choices, do you think?
I just stay out of trouble, really, isn't it? And yeah, just stay out of trouble.
Which you wouldn't have got into anyway, would you?
No.
No, of course not. I mean, I have to make that point. But what, how are things different for you, young Perry, now that you are extremely famous?
Strange.
Go on.
I don't know.
Everything, I think everything for everyone is more like a whirlwind, you know, everything's just upside down. It's just been absolutely manic. I mean, little Perry loves it. Everyone loves it.
Of course. And you know, you mustn't be embarrassed at all to talk about it. You've achieved something, and with your achievement comes notoriety, and it seems as though you're saying that you're also aware that with it comes responsibilities.
Definitely, and it's good responsibility.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
And you know, Terry, with the advantage of just a few more years, you're able to take a good overview on that. But I just got the feeling that Perry was about to tell us a little bit more about what it's like to be famous and have that responsibility at quite a young age. Do you think about it at all, Perry?
Yeah, all the time.
What sort of thoughts?
What sort of thoughts do you think, Perry? Do you think that, obviously, you're doing what you do, a load of workshops, all these things for, like, Spaces for Sports is a good thing?
Yeah, everything, like, such as, like, Spaces for Sport and that is really, is giving a big impact on everyone, and it is really improving.
Well, welcome to the world of being famous people with responsibilities, which you're obviously taking very seriously. Terry Smith and Perry from Diversity. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
And Julian Wandsworth, good luck with Barclays Spaces for Sports and everything that does. If people want to find out more, what do they do?
They go onto the type in Google into Barclays Spaces for Sport, and it will come up with all the sites in the country.
Well done, fellas. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk. The home of free speech. Log on now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
Nick's in Javier in Spain. Hiya, Nick.
Good morning, Gaunty. Where have you been?
What do you mean, where have I been?
Last time I heard you were on Talk Squawk, and I've come over on holiday.
Yeah.
I've come over on holiday. I'm flicking through the English-speaking channels, and there's my man.
Well, let me tell you what's happened. I've set up a radio station on the Sun's internet site, so when you come home, you can listen to us on www.thesun.co.uk. We've also done a deal with Bay Radio and Spectrum, so we're on traditional radio right across the Costas. Is that good?
That's fantastic news. I look forward to coming out to see you. I'll be down at the Poison Bar on Javier on Monday. Look forward to seeing you.
Well, we're going to be doing autographs. We've got the pastry girls. You got the kids with you?
Yeah, I've got the wife and the 3 children,
Well, we're going to be giving away beach balls, T-shirts. You make sure you bring the kids down as well, all right?
Okay, mate, I'll be there.
Talk to me about smoking. Go on.
I will talk to you about smoking, but I want to know, are you standing for Prime Minister?
I can't afford the wage cut.
Listen,
and you're not allowed to mention that other radio station unless you call it Talk Squawk. And you've got to say to me, Gaunty, I've come over from the dark side.
Gaunty, I have come over from the dark side.
There have been politicians who have clearly done things which look like the breaking of the law. And there's proper procedures. We've had people...
Sure, I know that, but there's also been politicians who've played the game, hasn't there?
Yeah. I think it's important that we're all accountable, and we'll be accountable to the electorate in the end for how these things
flipping
happen.
mortgages and then. Good morning, it's Tommy Boyd in for Jon Gaunt on Sun Talk.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Now, do you want to hear a harrowing life story? We all have our ups and downs, don't we? That is part of life. In fact, that's, in a sense, what makes life interesting. But some people have to go to hell and back. They're very lucky if they get back. But the person we're talking to right now really has been to hell and back. It's Claire Myers. Hello, Claire.
Hello, hello.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent. Been to hell and back, all because of some stuff called crystal meth.
Indeed, crystal meth, yes.
We'll get there in just a second, but first of all, let's start at the beginning, because you had such a rosy, such a golden young life that you ended up, was it in Los Angeles as some kind of a Hollywood scriptwriter?
Yes, I was working in Los Angeles. I worked in film development, and then I started script writing.
You were born and bred in
London.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I did end up going over to. I got the opportunity to go to university in on the East Coast, and I did very well there. And I then decided to move to LA to make my fortune, and live
This is
the
at what
American
age?
dream.
At what age is this?
I would have been about 23.
Wow. Wow. You've had a great education. I've got a picture of you at this age in front of me. It's across the centre of the sun today. You look fantastic. You look full of fitness and full of beans, and the world is your oyster.
Yes.
The world is your oyster. Now, at 23, you've got ins to film studios.
Yep.
People want to see. Well, you're kind of checking scripts to begin with, but
Yeah,
you've got a
yeah.
script in you, and you're working on it. Your life looks absolutely perfectly set. And then what happened?
Then what happened was I got involved with a man who actually was my neighbour, who I was rather attracted to because he seemed very bohemian and interesting. He actually turned out to be a crystal meth addict. I didn't really understand that at the time, and I tried crystal meth with him, and I did understand that he was pretty insane. He did end up getting arrested and imprisoned for bomb building, of all things. But I then had a moment about a year onwards that I was feeling very confused and unmotivated, and I just got this this big agent that was representing me for my screenplay, and I just felt very paralyzed by fear. And I got this mad idea suddenly that if I took some crystal meth, it would help me do this rewrite on my screenplay. And I ended up making a phone call to a friend of this ex-boyfriend. And, it's obviously if you want something like that, it's pretty easy over in LA. And that kicked it all off. And I just was like, oh, isn't this fantastic?
What is this stuff?
It's really high-powered. It's completely toxic. There's nothing natural in it, and I think it's been around for over 100 years. The Japanese kamikaze pilots used it. Armies have used it. Hitler is rumored to have been shot up with it every day as soon as he knew he was losing in World War II. And it's such a high-powered, toxic chemical that it makes you believe you're Superman or Superwoman. So hence, it is initially this, amazing. I mean, it gives you such a full-on buzz that it's very seductive. It just gives you that boost.
So after doing it once, do most people then, tragically, discover that they need to do it again, want to do it again, or have to do it again?
I think so. I mean, obviously it would be very dramatic to say you take it once and then you're hooked. And I wouldn't want to say that because it sounds a bit unrealistic. But I would say from my experiences with drugs and experience with addicts, this is one of those drugs that it pulls you in extremely quickly. I mean, I went from being a highly, ambitious, attractive young woman to losing everything in 3 years, being in jail, losing I was sectioned for mental health. I mean, I was nuts. I weighed about 80 pounds. I mean, just everything. I had obviously I
When
lost
you're in that
everything
appalling
materially.
low ebb, when you're in that terrible state, do you fleetingly even, occasionally, think to yourself, this is no good, I've got to get out of this? Or are you actually dependent on somebody else pulling you up and pulling you out of it?
No, I knew I needed to get out of
But
it.
why didn't you do something about it then?
Well, I did. I went into rehab. I then relapsed and went back on it. I then ended up in jail again.
But why couldn't you yourself just go, no, I'm not going to do this again?
Well, because addiction's a compulsive illness.
But is that addiction, let me ask you, is that addiction you being in a kind of healthy way drawn to this, what you consider to be a wonderful experience, or does your body start to ache and you get racked with pain and the only way to make that go away is to have another hit?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much a physical addiction as a mental addiction. It's a psychological dependency. And that's where the problem lies. So I think if you're suffering with any kind of low self-esteem, you don't believe in yourself, you are troubled, unhappy, depressed, this drug is very seductive and appealing to those kinds of people. So anyone who's trying to get their life going, I think if you're young and you're struggling and you're in a competitive arena or just struggling with life, whatever your problems are. I mean, everyone has problems. I think it's this drug, it hooks into that very quickly in a way that other drugs probably take longer to undermine you. And that's where the danger is.
Okay, and presumably we're concerned over here because this stuff is here already and being increasingly used by misguided people?
Absolutely, yes. I think right now it tends to be in more elite circles and in the gay community because as I understand it from my sources, it's not that easy to get and it's expensive. The thing is, once, dealers get the product over here in terms of, however they do that, which we all know they do, it will basically be very cheap and very available.
Most drugs, as I understand it, most drugs have to be manufactured or built or grown abroad. Is this something that can be created in laboratories and in kitchens?
Absolutely, yes. It can actually be made up by anyone who has sort of a basic, O-level understanding of chemistry. So if they just get hold of those chemicals and they know how to, heat it up and all that sort of stuff, it's a pretty basic chemical procedure, unfortunately. So that's where I think the fear is, that's what the problem could be potentially in this country, because if you say you've got someone in a tower block cooking it up, it's hard, it's so dangerous. In the US, they've had so many fires, children killed because of this crazy insanity.
Yeah, there's a town or even a city or a district anyway of West Coast America, I think, where pretty much everybody's on it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think you must be talking about Fresno.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would say, I think they said sort of something like half the town's population. And yeah, it is like that. I mean, it's just, it's very insidious because I think the problem with it also is initially you can't function. So you could take a hit and go to work. It's like that because the hit lasts for, say, 5-6 hours. So unlike other drugs, you're not having to keep topping up your hit. It's pretty sustainable. And you get this, this overwhelming surge of energy. Actually, when I first started taking it, my boss said to me, number one, I lost a lot of weight, and I was highly motivated and on the ball initially, I need to add, which was just suddenly I was really high achieving and brilliant and lovely and all that. It fell apart within a couple of months. But if you're starting with an addiction, all those things feed into the message, I'm okay, what I'm doing is okay.
And you are okay now? I
am okay now, but it's taken me a long time to recover. I've spent more time recovering. It's over 10 years ago now. The whole episode really was about 3 years. It took me at least 10 years to recover. I have premature ovarian failure, which means I can't have children, and I'm on all sorts of hormone replacement therapy. I'm only 37, so that's not very good. It was very painful and sad, actually, for me. Not to mention just the psychological damage. I've had a lot of battles with depression, and just also the shame and the shame really and guilt of obviously having come from a privileged background, messing up all the wonderful opportunities I was given. Was just to do that to myself through this drug.
What are you doing with yourself now?
Now I work in casting. I'm a casting agent.
Okay.
Yeah, I work freelance. Primarily for Mark Summers Casting in London. So, my life is good. I also do a little bit of freelance writing. And my book
Who would play you then?
Who would play me? Wow, I don't know, Lindsay Lohan.
Okay, good call. I thought it was a good question, shooting from the hip.
And you know I've written a book
Yeah.
called Tweaking the Dream.
Yeah, let's hear about that. What's it called again? Tweaking.
It's
What's
called
that?
Tweaking the Dream.
What's
crystal
tweaking?
meth. Tweaking is a tweaker is a crystal meth addict,
Okay.
like a pothead or so forth. And a tweaker is a crystal meth addict, and they're known to be insane, or like myself, you are insane, or was. And yeah, you kind of get this very far away, crazed look in your eyes. Because, you know, the thing with it is you don't sleep, you don't eat, you get very thin and very manic.
Okay, that book is out right now.
Yes, it's available on Amazon, and it will be in the shop September 1.
Okay, Tweaking the Dream.
Yeah.
It's, your message is really that everyone should stay vigilant about this. I guess
Yeah.
particularly parents of teenage children who might just be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Claire, yours is a good story, at least that all's in the sense of all's well that ends well. Thanks for
Yes.
your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Real people, real talk. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Sun Talk Business with Steve Hawkes.
It's a very good morning, afternoon to a very busy beaver. You've been running the country, somebody told me.
Running the country?
Something like that.
Well, you know, just the business desk.
Running the economy.
I'm not doing a very good job of it.
Telling the Bank of England how to do it, or something, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what I
no,
heard.
there was it's a very big day for economic news. Unfortunately, a lot of it's pretty gloomy.
Oh, really? Go
Yeah,
on
I
then.
mean, it's not the best. It's not the best.
Go on then.
Unemployment, a 14-year high, 2.44 million, and rather staggeringly and worryingly, a lot of the people on the dole queue now are youngsters, 16 to 24-year-olds. There's 928,000 16 to 24-year-olds out of work.
There's talk of the under-25s possibly, you know, being a lifetime thing, looking for a job.
Yeah, this
now.
whole lost generation. It's a real worry. I mean, it's basically the unemployment rate among kids now is about 19%, and this is obviously at a time when people are going to be leaving university, leaving school, looking for work. It's just not out there. So it's a real, it's become really the story now of the unemployment figures going forward about what's going to happen, how we're going to get these people into work.
Any idea what it costs us, the sort of various subsistence monies that we make, that the state provides to make sure that unemployment? I mean, let's think about it.
It's going to be,
2.4
billion. If you've got, there's about 1.6 million are claiming benefits.
Right.
So that's...
well, you do the math.
Yeah, you're looking at a huge figure. And
set to go higher?
Yeah, a lot of people, again, rather worryingly, think it could get to 3.2 million early next year. There's a side where people think it won't ever get that high because we're seeing a lot more flexibility now in talks. I mean, you've seen with British Airways, the pilots agreed to take less money for a 2-year period and take shares in 2 years down the track as a sort of recompense for that. And there's a lot of this, like people at Honda took a month unpaid rather than obviously face job losses. So there are sort of glimmers there because basically there's a lot more understanding on both sides. Trade unions have realised that they need to bargain a lot more and be a lot more sort of compromising in their position.
Compromising?
Sorry,
yeah,
I mean basically compromising, rather than saying okay, like all out there. Basically,
flexible.
More flexible looking negotiate with it. All those words.
Lord Mandelson says the unemployment figures are unacceptable, so that's all right then.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the bit that you haven't got on that list is basically said it would have been a lot higher if the Tories had been in charge. So obviously there's a lot of political talk going on this morning, basically both sides blaming each other. But it's become almost now making it a political issue sort of belittles really the challenge that's ahead for getting these people back in work. And obviously Mervyn King, the Bank of England governor, was out today. They always put out a quarterly inflation report, they call it, but it's basically his quarterly view on the economy. And he, no surprises, says the recovery is going to be slow and protracted. And it could take several years for banks to get back into full fitness, for lending to recover, and obviously for the spare capacity that is now out there in the economy to be used again. Again, quite gloomy. The one upside of that is that basically interest rates could remain at this current low level for months to come. People are talking even into 2011, which would be
Where's it
huge boost.
impacting these extraordinarily low, almost non-existent interest rates? Where's it impacting?
The people that have seen a boost are these people on tracker mortgages that were just by chance lucky enough to take out a tracker mortgage that basically mirrors the interest rate. So as that comes down, their home loan goes down. I mean, RBS last week was saying they think the average mortgage people on tracker mortgages are now £200 a month better off, which is a huge boost to people in the current
That's such a
environment.
lottery. I mean, you just get lucky if that's the case.
I mean, there were some people,
No one
basically, you might have moved home in 2008, start of 2008, and signed up for a fixed rate deal, being prudent, for 5 years, and you could be on an interest rate of 6.5% or something for 5 years, and you'd be getting clobbered at the moment. That's where the biggest boost is coming through on interest rates. Obviously, it's affecting people with savings because banks, have been lowering their savings rates to reflect that lower sort of core interest rate. But the biggest boost has been on tracker mortgages.
Right. I've got a question I really want to ask you. I want your judgment on something, and you won't be able to do it straight away, or maybe you will. If Gordon had just come to power when this recession appeared on the horizon, do you think he would have done anything differently from what he's done, knowing that an election must be called sometime reasonably early next year?
I think it would be interesting whenever his memoirs come out, the whole situation over last year, when there was a chance to call a snap election last year. And I think Northern Rock and everything around that, all the bank bailouts that happened last October, I wonder, it would be really intriguing to see whether, when all this does come out down the track, did he think, well, look, we're about to do a bank bailout, the banks are teetering on the edge. But basically, things were moving so quickly last year, and I don't think many of the politicians and their advisors really knew just how bad it could have got. And perhaps there was obviously a risk of things. I mean, Lehman Brothers was the big American bank that collapsed in September. You speak to Treasury officials now, and off the record, they say they didn't really even grasp what would happen when Lehman Brothers went. Basically, between the Friday of the speculation it was going to go to the Monday when it did, then people realised, well, this is actually going to have huge repercussions. They weren't even aware. So you wonder how much of it would have played into their sort of decision-making on the election. But obviously, because he was Chancellor as well, and it was his, he managed the economy for 10 years, it was going to end boom and bust, and now obviously the biggest boom and the biggest bust in history. That was always, I think, going to have been with Gordon Brown and would have tainted any sort of election campaign.
Okay.
So that's basically, I don't know.
No. Yeah, of course you don't. But it's brilliantly camouflaged, I don't. Winter Woes, the holiday industry's head.
Yeah, TUI Travel, they're on their first choice. They've come out today and they've said summer bookings are holding up very well because Brits are leaving it late, but they are still going away. What seems to be happening is a trend we're seeing everywhere is basically people are leaving it late to the last minute and saying, okay, I've got enough money, let's go. Because of the rain in Britain, and because of them saying, look, we need a break. But for the winter going forward, it looks as though demand is going to be quite low. TUI Travel's have basically shelved 1 in 7 holidays, so they don't think they're going to be able to sell them. It's just an indicator, again, that people are sitting on their hands and basically wondering about where they might go. And these aren't costly skiing holidays. First Choice basically takes most people in the winters at Canaries, North Africa, Egypt, those sort of results. So they're sort of cheaper deals, really.
Okay, Steve, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Hi, it's Gaunty here. As you know, Dulux have got together with the Sun to rally our communities to pick up a paintbrush. With small differences, you can make a big difference. Why don't you check out the community projects nominated by you, the Sun readers, and cast your vote for the most worthy cause. Now, Dulux have been so impressed with the response from our listeners and readers that they've now decided to give 2 more lucky projects a complete and utter makeover. There are 11 projects to vote for live on www.thesun.co.uk/Dulux. Get voting now. This could be your last chance to make a difference to your community. Vote now at www.thesun.co.uk/Dulux. And don't forget, you're going to be entered into a prize draw where you could win a cool £1,000 just for voting. Voting does end, though, on the 4th of September at midnight. So far, the Paint for Change bus and the Power Painters have visited Stoke Mandeville Hospital Radio. They even had a visit from Sir Jimmy Savile. They went to Oakdale Comprehensive School in Wales, Pitsea Leisure Centre and Bridgeon Scout Hut in Kent. The results were brilliant, and they are changing these spaces for the better for those who use them. Why don't you go to www.thesun.co.uk/Dulux to read the full story. Now, the bus is going to be on the road again soon to make over our most recent winners. So look out for the bus, and once we have our winners, why don't you drop by the makeovers in your area? You can pick up some useful hints and tips from the Dulux experts, or even just have your photo taken with the Dulux dog. You can even roll up your sleeves and get involved. It's going to be a fun day for the whole family, with a competition and goodies on the bus. Dulux want to help you make a big difference with small changes, not just in your community, but also for you at home. Go to thesun.co.uk/Dulux to check out those top Dulux hints, tips and videos.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks.
Well, good morning if you're listening live in the United Kingdom or around the world on the internet at thesun.co.uk. Hello to you, and if you're listening on traditional radio across some 800 kilometres of sunny Spain, I'm sure it is this morning, afternoon I should say, 1:30 it is there now, on Bay Radio and Spectrum FM. Good day to you. I hope we are serving you well. I wasn't sure whether to do any of my chat with Ossie Ardiles in Spanish. My Spanish is very much the Spanish de la playa, which I'm sure yours is if you're living in Spain now. A reminder, you can always contact us. Whatever the code is for calling the United Kingdom, you'll know it in Spain. Our number in the United Kingdom is 020 33 64 7000. And amongst other things, besides your views on the news topics that we've been talking about this morning, we were hoping to talk about the new Quentin Tarantino movie, Inglourious Bastards, but it got us wondering about all-time favourite films, and what's the one film that you would take with you if you were stuck with this idea of having to take just one DVD to your desert island for the rest of your life. Alba emailed the studio with favourite movie Braveheart. Alba says could watch that forever. And Dennis says that he could watch Once Upon a Time in the West or Shane forever. That's a great nomination. Good work. We will come back to that. Thank you. Reminder of the email address, the one movie you take with you to Desert Island, gaunty@suntalk.co.uk. It's 12:35 in the United Kingdom, and it's time for this.
Bizarre with Jess, Miss Hockey Sticks Rogers and Liam Nichols.
Just Jess this morning, looking fantastic as ever in a little black dress.
Oh, thank you very much. How are you?
Never been better. Today's the day. You can check her out on the camera if you like. We're streaming pictures of the show, and we'll give you a nice big close-up for the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Not too close.
So. Not too close, she says. Get in there with the camera. Okay, what's cooking in Bizarre today?
Well, we in Bizarre we're exclusively revealing Leonardo DiCaprio's new girlfriend.
Okay.
He's been for the past couple of weeks we've been tracking his how can we put it? Well, we've been tracking what he's been getting up to in London.
Say love life, shall we?
His love life, yeah, to put it loosely.
Okay.
And he's been up to all kinds of shenanigans while he was filming in London. But he's been in Ibiza for the last week, and he's been spotted with a new supermodel. He's got a lot of previous with supermodels. He used to date Giselle Bundchen. He used to date Brazilian.
It's good crime if you can get it. All right, go on.
Yeah, no, he used to date the Brazilian beauty Giselle Bundchen, and most recently Israeli underwear model Bar Raffaelli.
How do they score these liaisons, these guys? Is it that they see somebody across a crowded bar and eyes lock like we do, or because you're extremely famous, can you say, I want her, she looks good in the magazine, get me her?
I was going to say, you asking me how a good-looking Hollywood heartthrob scores girlfriends.
Yeah, you got
No,
an
I
idea.
think, you actually, with him, you've hit the nail on the head with the latter. He literally, when he was in London, was selecting girls that he liked in a club and asking his bodyguards to bring them over to him.
And of course they did.
And they did. I mean, obviously not against their will. Obviously they wanted to go and sit down and have a chat with him.
Yeah, sure.
And he did, but so he was entertaining himself with various girls while he was here. My colleague saw him in Whiskey Mist, surrounded by models, and we believe that he met Anne in London and whisked her off to Ibiza with him, and they've been in Ibiza for the past week or so, getting loved up.
This place, Whiskey Miss. I've got to go and have a look, but they wouldn't let me in, would they?
It is a members club.
Yeah. Isn't that where a footballer just had a £120,000 party? Or That's
Yeah,
So that is
yeah.
the place at the
Chelsea
moment.
players were there last week.
That is the place then, is it?
It is the place at the moment,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we know about this girl? Apart from the fact she's obviously drop dead.
She is drop dead gorgeous. She is a supermodel. She's just done a big shoot for Sports Illustrated, which is swimwear. So she's got a great body. And she also fronted the campaigns for all the big designers as well. She's Russian, and her name is, let me make sure I pronounce this right, Anne Vyalitsina. But in fashion circles, she's known simply as Anne V. So
Let's
should we stick to
then,
that?
shall we? Yeah, okay. And she's just a good-looking girl. She doesn't do anything else. She doesn't sing, doesn't dance, can't act.
She doesn't do any of those
No.
things. Don't know if she can't, but she
No.
doesn't. She's just a pretty face.
How'd you get this story then ahead of everyone else?
Well,
Source.
we've yeah.
Good work. Good work. And how long is it going to last? You know about these things.
He went out with his last girlfriend for a couple of years.
Oh.
But it's understood that they split up because she wanted to settle down properly and have babies and the works, and he didn't want to do that. I think he's an eternal playboy. But he has been known to kind of settle down for a good couple of years at a stretch. So she may manage to calm his roving eye.
I'm really stupid, but why have you headlined this story, Leo, new girl, so good licking?
Because of the picture on Bazaar is a picture of Anne modelling. She's on the catwalk in a strange costume which appears to be melted ice cream cones.
Which are placed
across her
boobs.
Bosom area.
Okay, no, good work. Just double checking. All right, so that's I guess top story in Bazaar today. What else you got?
We've also got a football story, a funny little football story, which is about the Liverpool players Steven Gerrard, Torres, and Jamie Carragher are having a cook-off competition at Jamie's restaurant in Liverpool city centre. They've organised their own MasterChef style competition to take place in October, and they've roped in Marco Pierre White to be the host for the night. And so they're all at the moment busy in their kitchens, obviously when they're not training, busy in their kitchens, ready for the competition.
Okay, top publicity for Jamie's, did you say restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. Can he cook? Do we know? Do we know if any of these guys can cook? I'm guessing Fernando Torres can knock up something pretty mean with risotto rice, but...
Yeah, well, he could probably knock up a mean paella. His nickname's Nando, so be expecting some spicy chicken.
Okay, good.
From him. But yeah, no, I mean, he apparently fancies himself as a bit of a master chef, so odds are on him to win.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Stevie G being much of a cook.
Well, we do want to know what they're going to cook.
We do.
We want to know whether they're going to cook what they cook normally twice a week, because it's one of their free recipes, or whether they're going to actually cheat and get somebody to coach them to cook something fancy pants.
Yeah.
And do it that way round.
Well, they've certainly got the money to be able to get Marco Pierre White to cook them something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll let them get away with that. But I mean, Jamie Carragher, maybe. Torres, yes. Stevie G, I can't see it.
Okay, but you'll be tracking that one?
Yes.
Naturally. Okay, what else is in Bazaar?
Well, also, after initial speculation that Peter Andre was going to go to number 1 at the weekend, it now looks like he's going to go to number 4. So poor Pete is going to have his dreams of a number 1 shattered. Well, number 4 is as good as nowhere.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Number 2, at least it was an almost, but 4 is...
No, it's not very good, and I would imagine he'll be very disappointed with it.
Okay.
Especially with all the publicity he's got at the moment, you would have thought that he would have been able to get that number 1.
Does publicity still sell records?
Yes.
Okay.
Look at Lady
Gaga. But not in his case.
No.
No, not in his case.
Clearly not enough.
All right, but what is he going to do then? Is he going to keep on banging his head against this brick wall?
Well, it's only the first single, I think it all depends on the second single as well. I think if you've got one chance. I think if the second one goes wrong, then it's really over for him.
So he's now clinging to the wreckage of his relationship with Jordan because it's the only thing that keeps us all interested in it?
Yes, and also it looks like he's clinging to the potential wreckage of his music career as well.
So that smile on your face suggests that you won't be sorry to be writing the thing about him being a minicab driver in Lincolnshire.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a fan of his music. I'm not a fan of his music, but I don't want to see him
That was very diplomatic for
Fail.
you guys, I thought. One story that caught my eye today, which is interesting, is that David Beckham's children might be being pushed towards golf rather than anything else.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, this is more about, we had some really good pictures, funny pictures of the Beckham boys with Victoria on the golf course, and we were just kind of speculating as to what David would think if they picked up a golf club rather than a football in future. So yeah, I mean, there's no suggestion that they're being pushed towards a career in golf.
Okay.
But to be honest, I mean, I'm sure he'd be happy just as long as they were doing any kind of sport.
Sure.
So.
Sure. Doesn't hurt me to say it at all, but my guess is that these two are pretty good parents.
David and Victoria. Yeah, I think they're around quite a lot. Certainly
Yeah.
when one's away, the other ones always make sure that they're there.
Yeah. And I liked your comments in Bazaar as well about the fact that Posh did whilst they were hitting golf balls, what any woman who's forced to watch sport does if she can, which is to talk to a mate.
Gas to a mate, yeah.
You're not bothered about sport then?
I'll watch it if I'm forced to.
Yeah.
Again.
Fair enough. Nice story about Amy Winehouse the musical as well. How solid is that?
Yeah, well, it's come from them. We had someone who had a chat with her brother, so you would think it's fairly solid. Presumably, there has been some talk of it in the family household. I mean, obviously, no one's spoken to her about it yet, but it would seem likely. It would be even more likely, of course, if things go downhill again. But hopefully, she comes back with a new album. We don't need an Amy Winehouse musical. Hopefully, we've got our own music, and we don't need anything else.
Okay, but you've linked it, of course, with this talk that's not going away about Jade Goody the musical.
Yes. I mean, I think this is still happening, the Jade Goody musical. We haven't had an update on it for a while, but it was certainly something that was in the works. And I don't see any reason why it wouldn't go ahead. There's still enormous interest in Jade.
It's got a beginning and a middle and an end. And, of course, Amy Winehouse, the musical, doesn't.
It doesn't have an end.
No.
Yet.
No.
No.
What else are you tracking? What insight can you give us on what we might see tomorrow in Bazaar? Anything at all? Come on.
I don't know if I can give you inside information on
Well, mime it or something
Our
then.
rivals might be listening.
Well, mime it to camera, or something.
No, I can't. It's top secret.
Oh, come on.
I can't.
I walk past your office twice a day.
Still don't know what we're working on, do you?
I know. They ring-fence you off, don't they?
They do.
It's almost like you're Portland down or something. I know I couldn't walk across your piece of floor without having a gun to my head.
No, there's
It's
a
that
force
top
field all the way
secret.
around us.
Oh, it feels like that looking in there. You're happy in your work?
Yes.
Yeah. And your contacts book is getting ever and ever thicker, but you're
Bulging,
not going to...
but I'm not going to divulge what tomorrow's
swap phone
Bazaar
numbers?
holds.
No? Do you swap phone numbers?
With
and
who?
stories
With
and
our
bits?
rivals?
Yeah, no, with your colleagues. Are they... Is it public? Story comes in.
Yeah, we're a team.
I'm interested. Okay. Again, God damn, you could have been Prime Minister if you'd had a worse education, couldn't you? Hockey sticks?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. You're not even going to give us the slightest hint about what might be...
Nope.
Nope? All
Top
right.
secret.
All right, beautiful.
Buy
Jess.
the paper tomorrow.
Good call. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sun Talk, the home of free speech.
Hi, it's Gaunt here. As you know, I'm on holiday at the moment in Turkey, sampling the Turkish delight, which in my case means plenty of Turkish beer and wine. But whilst I'm away, why don't you listen to my dulcet tones on one of the hundreds of podcasts that we've got of the last 3 months of Sun Talk. Everyone's there, from Tony Hadley at Spandau Ballet through George Osborne, David Cameron even. Top politicians, top entertainers, top pop stars, top sporting stars as well. Just go to www.thesun.co.uk.
Margot emails. This is Margot Parker. Hello, Margot. Thank you for your email. She says, Tommy, this is a hugely important problem. She's talking about crystal meth. And unless we educate as a mandatory subject on drugs and their effects in schools, colleges and universities and elsewhere, we will see the rise in crime to pay for these drugs, not to mention the human suffering caused all along the way. We do not have enough help out there to get people off drugs into programs of recovery. Drug addicts who become criminals end up in prison and the whole process starts again. Consecutive governments have been guilty of not making drugs a priority to control for all our sakes. Very good call from that lady who recovered from crystal meth's addiction. Her experience surely highlights the need for some action by the government. Regards, Margot. Regards back at you, Margot. Thank you for that. The email address, gaunty@suntalk.co.uk. Now.
TV Biz with Sarah Nathan.
No, I prefer this one. For obvious reasons. We all do.
TV Biz with Miss Whiplash.
Good morning, Miss Whiplash. Jen Blackburn. Smile and blow a kiss to your fans in the camera.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you
It's afternoon now, isn't it? I'm ready for lunch.
Yeah, I never say. I think it's morning until you've had your lunch.
I'd say so.
I'm not a midday. It's immediately afternoon.
No, I know. People always say good afternoon to me in the morning anyway, because I tend to get here a bit late.
It's one of those grey areas. It should cause argument, so let's let it, shall we? Good morning. I'll stick with it. Dennis the Menace is been in the news today, and that's one of the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, he's been demenaced. He's coming back to the BBC for a new cartoon, and they've stolen his catapult, water pistol, and pea shooter.
Right.
Also, Gnasher is not allowed to bite anyone anymore. Now,
No.
it's a dog called Gnasher, isn't he?
Yeah. So what have they got left?
Well, they're just going to have him as a sort of a mischievous child that accidentally creates trouble. So he's not picking on Walter the Softie anymore. It's just a completely different Dennis. It's not the same cartoon. It's even the character looks different. He hasn't got a sort of wicked grin anymore. He's got a lovable, cheeky smile. And I don't know, it just seems like political correctness gone mad to me. I think that Dennis should be allowed to be naughty. That's
You can
what it's
see
all about.
you can see what the people who've taken this decision have got in mind. And partly it's that they don't want anybody letting off a catapult and then saying, I saw it on television, because then your programme, is likely to get a kicking. So there's that. But the simple fact of the matter is, I don't know about you, and I don't know about you listening, but I believe that 99.99999% of children, if not maybe 100% of children, do actually know the difference between what you can do in a comic and what you can do in real life.
Well, exactly. It's a cartoon, isn't it? It's not as if you're going to actually see a dog savaging someone. And, I don't know, it's a morality tale, isn't it? There's no cartoon that ends with the moral of it's all right to, bully people and stuff like that. So, I don't know, it just seems madness to me. His dad's not allowed to slipper him anymore as well. If you remember in the comics, his dad always, when he finds out he's done something naughty, puts him over his knee, slippers him. Yeah,
Well,
he's not allowed.
Doing anything
Well, exactly. He's not
if
going to
he
deserve a
didn't
slippering,
merit
is he?
Slippering, he's not going to do anything that merits a slippering.
Well, when they change something to this extent, if they said, oh, Dennis the Menace, it's outdated, it's bullying these days, we wouldn't let it happen. Well, do a different cartoon then, because this is what Dennis the Menace is. This is just them cashing in on a stripy red jumper, and that's all that's left.
Well said. This is Miss Whiplash talking.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio networks. Sun Talk, the home of free speech. Log on now to thesun.co.uk for the latest Sun Talk shows.
Whoa, what is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Are you a Speedo man, porn star, or are you a boxer short man? What kind of swimming trunks? I thought it would be in Speedos.
I thought it would be naked,
Pardon? I thought you'd be naked. You know why you said it, Dave?
Hello, I'm here with Florence from Florence and the Machine. We're on the shoot for a new video, and she'd like to say hi to you, Gaunty. Hi, Gaunty. I've described her to you as a bit of an old fart. Hope you don't mind. He wears a lot of Ben Shermans.
Plus, you can download our daily podcasts.
Kelvin McKenzie. Hi, Kelvin.
I am steaming mad! Steaming mad!
People have known that for a long time here at Sun Towers.
They just thought I was mad.
Yes, the host of Sporting Stars were outside number 10 and they were putting a blue net over the door. There was Andy Murray, there was David Beckham, and I'm delighted to say there was Olympic champion, yes, Olympic champion and British heroine herself, Denise Lewis, who joins me in the studio now. Hi, Denise.
Hello.
What were you doing at number 10 and what was the blue net all about?
Well, the blue net was to signify
what we're trying to do with Malaria No More UK, which is to blanket Africa with bed nets.
The funny thing about all this, here we go, I stand up for a country, I mean, my own country, which I call my country now, this is, as well as where I came from anyway. But I live here, this is my country now. I'll do everything in here. I got my kids going to school here, and this is my country. I want to save this country for the future of my kids.
It's Sun Talk with Tommy Boyd, and we're talking TV with Miss Whiplash.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt. Online at thesun.co.uk and across southern Spain on Spectrum FM and Bay Radio Networks. TV Biz with Miss Whiplash.
Yeah, you are going to have to watch yourself if we're calling you Miss Whiplash, and the first TV story you want to talk about is slippering. You know, you're going to get yourself a real...
Well, yeah, no, honestly, the way I feel about
clearly
it...
defined fan base if you're not careful.
If they're going to take Dennis's catapult away, my whip might be next, and I don't want to let that happen.
All right, so we talk TV Biz, which is pages what in today's Sun?
It's a pull-out in the middle, so it's a middle spread.
Excellent. We talked a little bit about Dennis being demenaced. Natalie Cassidy is in the paper.
Yes, we've got pictures of her on the beach, and bless her, she looks absolutely terrible. About a year ago, she did a fitness video, about 18 months ago now, actually, which was called the Then and Now workout. And basically, she lost 2.5 stone, went from a 16 to a size 8. She looked fabulous. It was the biggest selling workout DVD of all time.
Excellent.
Such was the transformation. But bless her, today she's back in the paper, and she has just put on even more weight than she had.
She's heavier than she was.
Yeah, and it's just, but having said that, she looks happy. And she did previously say that she was unhappy as a thin person. She was working out all the time. She started taking laxatives to maintain it. And, you know, she looks bigger now, but here she is on the beach, looking really in love with her new fella, who's Ben Porter, and they're getting married. And you know, I think she just seems happier the way she is now. So this was a bona
fide, real, genuine diet. No stomach bands or anything like that here.
Not as far as I know. I don't think so. I don't think she's done a fern and conned the nation into buying Rivitas.
Okay.
But yeah, she's she you know, she does look fairly terrible in today's paper, but ridiculously happy.
Okay.
So bless her, and she made all that money out of her fitness video. I guess she can afford to not worry about it now.
What would you rather then, be a bit podgy and happy, or, you know, pencil thin and miserable?
Well, I'm always thin from chasing people with my whip.
You've got a fine figure, as the studio streaming cameras will, just confirm for us. Okay, and all the Osbournes are back on TV.
They are. Well, what it is as we said last week, they've finally ditched Kerry Katona, finally just sort of, I think, having to change the titles of their shows. I mean, first she was doing Kerry the Divorce, then she was doing Kerry the Reunion. Just her and Mark were so unreliable. They finally ditched her, and I mean, their reality shows started off with the Osbournes, and they've come back to it now. It's not. This one is mainly about Kelly Osbourne. They're following her around, but the rest of the gang will be in it. And you know, I'm just quite glad they've got rid of Kerry. To be honest, she was just a nightmare.
What does this mean? I mean, did they not quite make it as performers in their own right, so that they're back on reality TV, which is probably where they do their best work, if you can call it that?
Well, when I heard that Kelly was coming back to MTV, I thought, oh God, no, it's going to be another single. But thankfully, it's a reality show, just showing her and her wacky family doing all the things they do best, which is just sort of swearing and wandering around in dressing gowns, from what I've seen of the show in the past. But yeah, I don't know. She's my least favourite Osbourne, Kelly. But
well, let's get the hit parade there then.
Well, you know, you've got Ossie, who's just a legend, isn't he? He's just everything that comes out of his mouth. Once you've decoded it, it's actually very funny. Yeah. Sharon, you know, is the brains of the operation. Jack, I don't know. Yeah, he's a close run second to my least favourite one, to be honest. And then you've got Amy, who's never in the spotlight, and I think she must win. Really, is my favourite one for just sort of staying out of it. But yeah, Kelly, not especially talented, not especially nice, I don't think, but has got a chaotic enough life to make the kind of reality TV that MTV specialise
You're
in.
a good soul, aren't you, really? It shines through what you've just said there. It's not just that she's got no talent. You don't think she's too nice, and that's why she's bottom of your chart. Is that right?
Yeah, well, you know, she's all right, but yeah, I don't know. These rock offspring drive me crazy sometimes. Like, you've always got Peaches Geldof wandering around thinking she's someone, Daisy Lowe. There's loads of them, aren't there, that just sort of...
They try and have a rock career of their own, most of them, don't they? John Lennon's boy came and went.
Yeah, he does it in a sort of more low-key way, I'd say, Sean Lennon. I quite like him. He's mad as a hatter. I had a brilliant conversation. It was like one of those Skittles randoms adverts.
What do you mean? Go on, do it.
Oh, he was just sort of, you know, he went into his love of rabbits. Like, he likes to draw rabbits on everything, everywhere he goes. He's just absolutely bonkers, but in a really nice, sweet way. Yeah. You know, sort of harmless nutter kind of way, which I imagine Yoko's much the same. Follow her on Twitter, it's quite funny.
Can you?
Yeah, she's always giving you peace and love. She is, honestly. She'll put little things up like, just let it go, or like, you know, tell someone you love them today.
I suppose, you know, for you nosy journalists, Twitter's a godsend.
It is, it is. I was once sat next to a couple in a restaurant a few weeks ago, actually, and they were sat at the table next to me, and they were saying, oh, these journalists are getting so lazy. They just write things off Twitter now in the paper. And I was listening thinking, well, we don't really, but if they've said it, we can't ignore it. People phone up and tell us. And they said one of them wrote this story about Ian Beale from EastEnders, and it was me.
Oh.
It was me. I just sat there quietly blushing, eating my pasta. But
Drinking
the thing was,
it all in. Did they? What else did they say about your story then?
They said it was lazy journalism, but the thing was, he'd put it out there, and other papers are going to do it. So yeah, I have to do it. And
How did you resist the temptation to lean across and say that's my story? Because it would have meant that you were eavesdropping, I suppose.
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
That's not lazy journalism.
No, exactly. This is it. If it had been a celebrity at the next table, that's it. I've got a selection of glasses for holding up against walls.
Fantastic, Miss Whiplash. Thank you. Oh, go on, quickly. We've got 10 seconds left. Turn to camera and just give us a quick one.
Quick one. Give you a quick one.
A quick You're good. You're very good. 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.
No, 3, 2, 1. Come on. All right. Nice one. That's it. Talk to you tomorrow from 10.
Oh, thank you, Tommy.
Sun Talk with Jon Gaunt, the home of free speech.